We do have a quorum here, so we can go ahead and get started. We start all of our meetings with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. We offer the audience a chance to participate in the invocation. If nobody wants to do that, Randy, then we'll have somebody else. Okay, thank you, Randy.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunities we have to serve Thee and to serve this country and this county. We're grateful for the opportunities we have to bring our pleas before Them, that they might meet the rules and regulations of such that we might govern and be governed in a way that is pleasing unto Thee and to the general public. We're thankful for all that we have in this great nation, and we ask Thy blessings this day. And in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Randy. If you'll all rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Apologize for my voice. Seemed like every summer me and hay fever have a battle all summer. This summer is a little worse than normal. So our consent agenda includes 6 items this morning. I want to talk a little bit about one. Oh, yeah. Are we going to let them do that? I guess we will first start with public comment. So I'll turn the time over to Mac to give us the rules and keep the time.
All right, perfect. Just as a reminder, for those of you that are in the audience wishing to make a public comment, we'll allow for 3 minutes. And then for those of you that are online wishing to make a public comment, there is a feature where you can raise your hand and we will acknowledge you at that time as well. We typically take those members in the audience first, and then we'll go to those members online. If you're unable to find that raise your hand function in Zoom, there is option to unmute yourself at that time, and we'll call for that as well if you're wishing to make that public comment at that time. So with that, please keep your comments courteous and kind. Also, this is an opportunity for the commissioners to hear you. It's not necessarily an opportunity to debate on an item or have a commission exchange, although commissioners may ask follow-up questions of your public comment as they feel free to do so. And so with that being said, anybody here in the audience, I'm not seeing a lot of people here for public comment. So there's none here in the audience. So I do have a hand raised online. It's titled under iPhone. If you can just state your name, where you're located in the county, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Mr. or Mrs. iPhone.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hello, this is Kylie Miller. I live on Pole Canyon Road in northern San Juan County. I am calling in regards to the Balanced Rock Resort overnight accommodation request for the, So there are already thousands of overnight accommodations in the area if you include Moab and Grand County. We need housing for the people who work and live here. We do not need more overnight accommodations. And that resort will hugely impact the people who live in that region. And it is not right. And I understand that San Juan County is needing of funds, but to exploit this is just wrong. It's just wrong. And there needs to be protections for the people who live here, and allowing the Balanced Rock Resort to have an overnight accommodation overlay is not protecting the residents that live here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment online?
We would. There's two of us here.
Okay, go ahead and state your name where you reside in the county. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Kim Jacobs. I live on 17 Lenore Court. I also own a long-term rental at 11 Lenore Court. We are the street, as you know, adjacent to this proposed Balanced Rock resort. I've spoken with all but one of the houses on our street, and for the record, again, we all oppose the overnight overlay on this development. We also oppose the overwhelming density of houses. We've all written letters, been to meetings, and so I just wanted to go on the record again to let you guys know that we all oppose this. So moving on. If you pass this rezone and we move on to building permits, we notice that the conceptual plans at the bottom of the packet, at the end of the packet, I know it's basic still. They do not show the required 100-foot buffer, which is codified in your ordinances. So we wanted to get the dialogue going on this. The developer in the March 9th public hearing mentioned a 66-foot buffer, which he was very proud of, that he thinks will appease all of us and our peace and quiet, which is completely the opposite. But that is well under the required buffer of 100 feet that in your ordinances states is intended to be a transition zone between commercial, industrial, and residential uses. This is section 5C of chapter 10 in the OAO, and it requires identification of site planning features. So we realize that you cannot approve the application eventually as it's submitted, that because it's not consistent with your requirements, but we wanted to get the dialogue going because we know that you don't really seem to care, as you've stated publicly, that we are your sacrificial lamb or cow or whatever. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. I'm going to pass the mic to my husband.
Okay, you've got a minute left.
That's okay with you.
Hello, my name's Pete Patterson. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right. I live on 17 Lenore Court Road, which is directly adjacent to the proposed development. My opposition to this has not changed since the first time I heard of it. The public hearing in March, a representative from Balanced Rock spoke. His comment was they are coming to make money. There was no dialogue about how they would contribute to the community or anything regarding positive contributions, except for the fact the county would receive tax dollars. How about employee housing or fire protection or something besides money? In the same meeting, a commissioner mentioned how cute the developments are in St. George and Salt Lake City. Well, those cities are the place for these types of developments, and so is along the highway where there is minimum impact from all the noise, et cetera, that these developments create. People move to the rural zones to get away from these high density places. With this project, there will be hundreds of cars, ATVs running up and down the proposed access line along the property lines of existing landowners. The job of you commissioners is to balance what is right for the citizen and what is appropriate for tax dollars and development. If this proposal passes, the county has failed its citizens. Finally, it appears no one is thinking about the future of the water. Resorts use excessive amount of water. Excessive overnight rentals will most definitely accelerate the drying up of our wells and the aquifer, and then what will we do? This development is wrong in many ways. This development is based on greed and disrespect for the citizens of San Juan County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment? I have some that are unmuted. Monet, you're unmuted. Are you wanting to make a public comment, or is that just an error?
No, I would like to.
Okay, go ahead. Your time begins now. Just state your name and where
Thank
you
you.
reside.
My name is Lynette Clark, and I live in Spanish Valley. And I'd just like to add my voice to that of Colby Smith, who's been to neighbors. And I want to tell you that I agree with his assessment of.
Okay, you're kind of breaking up. We're only getting
And
every other sentence.
okay, sorry.
No, that's
I don't
fine.
know why.
I think it's your video, or it might be our video.
Maybe I should take off the video. Let me just take that off. I think I'm connecting again,
You're
unfortunately. Oh, darn. Let me see if I can do that, get rid of it. Anyway, please do not approve the overnight overlay application for the Balanced Rock Resort. It's just harmful to the sense of community here. It's not helping us. It's going to just continue our alienation of people here in the valley. What we need is more affordable housing. And please try to promote projects that give us a sense of community in Spanish Valley. So please don't do that. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. The next one, I've got a hand raised from Marlene. Hey, Marlene.
Hi, Marlene Huckabee from Spanish Valley. I just want to chime in with Colby. I thought his letter that he sent you all was excellent, worded well, and made every point. Something I hadn't even thought of is the slum idea. We're just getting trashed. And, I know San Juan needs the money, but why do we have to be the sacrifice? It just doesn't make sense. People will come here always and spend money, and you'll get it from that. So please consider this when you vote. Think of us that want to make this a nice bedroom community. And it's not going to be that way if we have all this. So thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks, Marlene. Okay, anyone else wishing to make a public comment on here? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Not seeing any others unmute themselves, commissioners. That is your public comment period for today.
Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda, which I tried to do before the public comment. We have 6 items on there. I just want to clarify on number 3, the approval of our county survey vacancy. We lost our surveyor a couple of weeks ago. He had been fighting COPD for a long time, and he passed away on a Thursday a couple of weeks ago, and so it creates a vacancy. We do have other people in the survey office that can handle many of the duties, although they are not licensed surveyors. We'll have to address that issue in the next few weeks, but our interim surveyor will be Jacob Regalado, and he'll handle the survey office until we go through all the hoops to get a new surveyor, and so that's part of the consent agenda. The other items I think are pretty self-explanatory, unless, Sylvia, you want to make a comment about any of one of them?
I'm okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll second that. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also, that's 2 in favor. And Jamie's not here to vote on that, so it'll be just 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 7 on our agenda today was supposed to be the Historic Commission update presentation by Nancy Kimberly. She canceled, and Kristen Cox from the governor's office thought she was on the agenda. She's not presenting anything that requires a vote, just a presentation. So we'll turn the time over to Kristen from the governor's office.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to even let her run the mouse.
Yeah. See if I can drive this Cadillac. So, again, my name is Colette Cox with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity.
Colette, I'm sorry.
No.
I think I said Kristen. That's my 74-year-old brain trying to work.
Usually I get Colleen, which was my grandmother's name. So an easy way to remember my name is if you lived in Salt Lake or were in the area, I'm named after a furniture store on Redwood Road in Salt Lake. So Colette's Furniture. So, and no relation to Governor Cox, but I work under the governor's office. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today and talk about the partnership between our office and the San Juan County Commission and your Economic Development Department. Whoops. Oh, look, you shouldn't have let me drive.
Let me get back.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I'll get it just right where we need it. Maybe. It's going to be like, okay. On. Resume share. Let's go.
Can you just click on slide number 2 or not?
You should be able to click on yours. And then hopefully the public will see there.
Alrighty. Let's try this again. There we go. So the state of Utah has been ranked #1 for our economic development, for best place to start a business, best place to gain capital to invest or expand your business. We have all of these accolades. However, if we can't bring some of that success down from the Wasatch Front into the rural communities like ours, here in San Juan County, we have not done our full job. So about a year ago, through my office, we hired outreach managers. There used to be one outreach manager for the entire state to cover rural. Now we actually have a total of 4 outreach managers working across the state, and one more that will be hired in July. And so I cover the 5-county region along with Grand and San Juan counties, and so covering this whole southern Utah region. And it's I'm very pleased to be your representative and again, bring some of these opportunities here to San Juan County. Just a quick overview. In comparison, you can see that you have a low unemployment rate, but it could be lower. And we're always looking for ways to diversify your economy and to create jobs. Year over year, job changes by industry have shown growth in construction and particularly natural resources. And that's a trend that we want to see go into the future because, again, everyone knows that San Juan County has some of the richest natural resources in the entire state. And we need construction to grow so we can build more houses so people have a place to live. We are the crossroads of the West here in the state of Utah. And because of this, we have our Inland Port project that has their main hub in Salt Lake City. However, there's a satellite hub that has just been approved for Iron County and other project areas that we're looking at in Beaver County, up in Box Elder County, and then up in Carbon area. And so we really want to look at how the Inland Port project can come down to San Juan County. It will look different than Box Elder County or Iron County, but we can still take advantage of this statewide project because it truly is a statewide project. We have the highest percentage change of population through COVID, we saw lots of people coming in from Texas, California, and other states because Utah is a great place to live. And we want those people to be here. We need workers. At any given day of the week, we have tens of thousands of jobs that are going unfilled in the state of Utah because we just don't have enough workers. And that is directly tied to our housing situation as well. We are the youngest state in the nation, which is a good thing. Even though our birth rate has flattened out a little bit, we are still a very young state, and that's good for business and good for companies who are looking to expand in the state of Utah and move to the state of Utah. We have lots of wonderful amenities, including our national parks and, things like the professional sports teams. But I think the greatest asset out of anything in the state of Utah is our people here. And you have some of the finest here in San Juan County. And again, this is your people and the entrepreneurial spirit that takes place here in San Juan County. This is what makes Utah great. We strive always for low regulatory burdens and fiscal responsibility. I had the opportunity to talk with Commissioner Stubbs earlier about some of, you're surrounded by federal lands, tribal lands, and have such a small amount of private lands. And any little change with the BLM, Forest Service, or the tribal lands can really put pressure on your county. And so we're acutely aware of that and want to make sure that we are supporting you as these issues come up. There are a couple right now that we're working through. But again, please call on us. We are your partner. We want to help in any way possible. And if we're not aware of something, please bring it to our attention so we can run it up the chain and really be helpful in this way. We have great social capital. We're one of the highest states for volunteerism. People feel safe living in our communities. We have high access to medical treatment. And those are things that, again, make San Juan County and the state of Utah very desirable to live in. The Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, our charge is to be stewards of the world's best economy and quality of life. And, from the comments in our public comment period, we understand that growth is a challenge. It really is. And finding that manageable growth, that smart growth, it's tough, and it's something that you're dealing with all the time. And again, we're here to support you in that. We want to cultivate prosperity and future-proof Utah's economy and have great economic opportunities now and in the future. One other goal that we have is to work at the speed of business. A lot of times in government, we get accused of being very slow. And so we want to work quickly at the speed of business. This is our leadership team: Ryan Starks, Corianne Edwards, Vicky Varela is over the tourism and film, and then Lance Soph is over targeted industries, which I'll talk about in just a moment. They all send their greetings, and again, just because they are not here every day and I'm not here every day doesn't mean that we are not part of your extended team. We are your interface with industry, and we help make those connections to potential employers that are coming in, housing projects, everything that can help your economy. These are our partners, everyone from EDC Utah, World Trade Center, Utah Inland Port, to our state agencies like Department of Workforce Services and federal programs like the SBA and Small Business Development Center. And this is the support that I personally give. This is my charge and my position to conduct outreach and really focus on international trade and diplomacy. We think about our rural areas not being involved in international trade and diplomacy, which is completely false. First off, we have tourists from all over the world coming to this county. And then we also have, oil and gas, mining. Those are all have international ties. And so, but we do focus on the 5 targeted industries, and we're looking to bolster advanced manufacturing, aerospace and defense, financial services, life sciences and healthcare, and IT and software. And again, some of those industries may be small in your county. Some may have the opportunity to grow larger, and we want to support that. We have several grants that come to your county, and this is really the heart of why I'm here is to look at these funding opportunities for you. We have our Rural County Grant, which is $200,000 that is given to the county every single year. Your county does a beautiful job utilizing those funds, reporting on it. We really appreciate the partnership with Elaine and her team. And then we have what was formerly known as the Part B funds. And this is something that Commissioner Adams is very familiar with. We've changed this a few times. One of my economic development directors said it was like you offered us 12 pairs of shoes and not one of the pairs fit. And so we've tried to simplify the grant process a little bit. But this Rural Communities Grant is something that I would love to encourage you as a county to apply for and each of your cities to apply for. I work directly with Bluff, Blanding, Moab, so we can have them apply for this grant. It's up to $600,000. You don't have to apply for the whole thing. It can be a small project or a large project, but you can be really creative. It can be everything from mountain bike, recruiting a mountain bike competition to giving small business grants because your main street needs sprucing up and you need new signs on your main street. We can be very, very creative with this money. So again, I hope to work with you. We start July 1st with some workshops online so your communities and the county representatives can sit in and think about what projects you want to do. And then you're going to vet them with me. We're going to work together to write that grant. I'm going to help you so you have the best chance possible when it goes to the board. And that's the beauty of my position. I don't make the decisions, so I can help you right up until the end.
Has Monticello worked on this with you also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we have put in, we had one grant from your area that put in last year, just missed it. And so we're going to rework that application and again, hopefully have new applications. So that's one of the main ones. We also have the Rural Communities Opportunity Loan. This is a revolving loan fund that was established through ARPA money. And again, it's something that you can utilize for economic development projects. So keep your eye on that fund. We also have tax increment incentives. We have the EdTIF and RedTIF. San Juan County businesses qualify for RedTIF. And it's for businesses who are creating jobs. They get up to 50% off of their state taxes, which can be a huge incentive because they can reinvest that in their company for infrastructure or to hire additional staff members or pay their staff higher. So it's a great program that I hope that you will help me promote with your businesses. We also have our enterprise zone tax credits. Again, this is a program that promotes economic development and business growth in the rural parts of the state. And so, as we have businesses that are looking to relocate here from within the state or from outside the state, hope that you can help promote that. And the other one that I really like is the READY program. This is for small businesses who are hiring just one or two new workers at a time. They get between $4,000 and $6,000 for those new hires, as long as they're paying above the county average wage. And for San Juan County, I want to say it's right around like $40,000. And so if they're paying $40,000 or above, they get this instant credit from the state. So that's great. We have an economic assistance grant that again is a little bit flexible. We can be creative. And when we apply for this, it can go into education, community development, infrastructure. And then we have some of our strategic grants. We have our water and air grant that's due at the end of the month. That's an $8 million pot. And I had one of my companies I work with in a small county, Beaver County, awarded $1 million last year. And they offer a product that helps reduce the watering needed for like alfalfa hay and agriculture crops. So we want innovation to happen in the rural areas, and these grants are to incentivize that. The other one that's due at the end of the month is the Manufacturing Modernization Grant. It is focused on the 5 targeted industries, but just because a company doesn't fall within the 5 targeted industries doesn't mean that they can't apply. That's a $10 million pot, and the top request can be $675,000. So again, any of your manufacturing facilities here in San Juan County, if they need new equipment, something to modernize their operations, a lot of our companies can't find workers, so they're going to robotics, and you can buy a robot that can do the work of 5 people, say in packaging or something like that, for about $150,000 to $200,000. So all in all, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity puts out over $120 million into the economy here in the state. And I'm proud to say that $60 million of that goes directly to rural. And so, again, we're working hard to serve rural, and we want to make sure that San Juan County does not feel overlooked. We are working with Elaine on the broadband priorities and broadband applications and grants there. Again, we know that we can expand business if we have solid internet and other infrastructures. We have our Utah Film Commission. Kevin Costner has been dropping a lot of money in rural Utah. And so we always want to take advantage of those opportunities when they come about. And with your incredible scenery and wonderful people and assets, there are always more opportunities through the Utah Office of Film. And again, it's really encouraging to see that there are close to 2,000 filming locations in the state of Utah, with 46% of those being in rural. So as a commission, I'd encourage you to make sure that your profile's up to date. So as our Film Commission staff connects projects within the state, they know all of your assets and that your willingness to host these film projects. We have our Utah Office of Tourism. In 2021, travelers spent $10.6 billion in the state of Utah, which is mind-blowing. Many of those visitors come through the southeast corner of the state, resulting in $1.8 billion in tax revenues. And, we know that we live and die in some of our areas by the TRT money and other tourist money. And so we want to make sure that even though it's an important part of your economy, it's not the only part of your local economic drivers. We want to make sure that you have diversification and also that you're continually supporting that piece of your economy with the tourism. And we currently have some tourism grants that are open right now. We got significant money from the Economic Development Administration that is being administered through the tourism office, $25,000 and $50,000 grants. And so I'll pass that information to Elaine for you to apply for. We also recently hired Camille Johnson. Some of you know her from Kane County. She's been a friend of Southern Utah and rural Utah for many years, and she's on our side now. So not only does she support Kane County, but she supports all of the Southern Utah and rural counties in the state. She is based in Kanab, so it's just a short drive for her to come over and support your tourism efforts. She can help with strategy. She can help with budgeting. She can help with marketing. She's just, anybody that knows her, she's a fireball, and she knows how to get things done. And then Virginia Pierce and her team from the Utah Office of Film are super helpful as well when it comes to those film projects. And I know that you contract with the film commissioner from Grand County. If there's anything we can do to help support her, please let us know. Also want to make you aware, access to capital is huge for your small businesses. And businesses, we can't just hand out money, right? We want businesses to be self-sufficient. We want them to have access to capital so they can grow on their own. But we, again, with ARPA money, have established the Utah Small Business Credit Initiative, and this is access to capital up to $4 million for your companies. So whether it's a small restaurant here in town or maybe a mining company that needs a couple $1 million in capital for an expansion project or machinery or whatever, this loan program is available. 30% has been designated for rural businesses, for minority businesses, and women businesses. So again, we want to work with this program and make this accessible to your local businesses. And Michelle George is over the program right now. We have the Apex Accelerator, used to be PTAC, helping your companies get contracts with government. Again, in the world that you live in with a lot of natural resource development, there's a lot of government contracting. And so it's everything from someone who has a cleaning business who wants to clean the county building to someone who owns a logging or a small logging business who wants to get contracts with the Forest Service. We've got counselors that they just hired a new counselor. I'm sorry I didn't change out the photo, but you've got a new counselor that just replaced Rita for this region. Rita was our representative, and so we're here to help you with that. Next,
Rita's number?
I was going to say, I do have her number if you want me to give it to you. She actually is in my area now. I grew up in Kanab, Fredonia area, actually Fredonia, and grew up with mining, logging, uranium, energy fuels, and then was recruited to go over and work for Utah Tech and run their small business resource center. So I ended up in St. George haphazardly during COVID. So I still consider kind of Kanab my home, but Kanab and Fredonia my home, but I live in St. George right now, and Rita's in St. George with me. So, yep, it was a hard loss for this area for sure.
Well, we have a need in our county for people to take tours in the Canyonlands.
Mm-hmm.
And they give all the tour operator permits to Moab. And we've asked them for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
to please designate at least one in San Juan County.
Yeah.
They just won't respond.
That thing. Let's talk offline so we can hopefully get involved with that and help mitigate that a bit, because again, it's tough and it monopolizes the market and doesn't allow.
They've changed the director of Arches Canyonlands recently, probably in the last year or two, but I don't know if that will make a difference, because the other director just didn't even want to talk about it.
Just wouldn't budge.
Right.
But again, that's where, we can help negotiate. We can get Vicki Varela and some of her team, Camille Johnson, we could get the Apex person in and help with those negotiations. That's a perfect example. Thank you. The other person I want to introduce you to is Natalie Eldiri with the Immigration Assistance Center. Because of our lack of workforce, we are often relying on visa workers in the tourism industry. They're J1 workers, and even in agriculture and sometimes in mining and other natural resource development type positions, we're working with visa workers. And the governor created this office specifically to support workforce development and make sure that people were not working illegally, and that, we really had visa pathways and solid resources for businesses, because there's nothing worse than losing a really solid workforce member because of a visa issue. So again, she's just super dynamic, very helpful, and we've been working through issues in multiple counties. And so as those issues come up with businesses, please make me aware and we'll get Natalie involved. This is, just to wrap up, these are sources where you can get our information, you and the public. You can sign up for our newsletters, specifically our rural outreach letter through Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. You can follow the governor online and just keep up with the projects and new initiatives that are coming through. This is my contact information. Please use it. This is my personal cell phone number I've had for 25 years. Do not hesitate to call me day, night, weekends. And my email address. I am literally your unpaid team member, which is the best kind. So hardworking, but you don't have to pay my paycheck. So, and also this is just the QR code. Again, for anyone watching online, you can scan that and go to our website. And for the commissioners, Mac will have this presentation available to you to share. And so you can, if you have any follow-up questions, please call me directly, text me, email me. I'll be here for the rest of the day today, visiting with the communities and businesses, and I'll be here tomorrow morning as well. And I can schedule visits to come out for specific things. But again, please utilize me and just know that I'm here to support you 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to recognize Jamie Harvey, who has joined us, Commissioner Harvey, and welcome, Commissioner Harvey. And do either one of you have questions of Colette?
Well, I had the opportunity to visit with Colette before this meeting, so I did ask questions and contribute some of our thoughts about some of the issues we deal with in our county.
And I got
like
two.
Housing and population diminishing and and sometimes we have to make hard choices.
Absolutely.
And so we got some ideas of some of the things we can get her assistance with.
I took 2 pages worth of notes, and I'm going to add your permit issue to that, and we'll follow up and work on that together. So,
Okay.
right.
I just wanted to comment that I'm grateful for the information. I look forward to getting copies of the slides. Mac is usually pretty good about sharing stuff when he gets it, so I'll
Good.
look through. I know that down in the southeast part of our area in San Juan County, especially on the Navajo reservation, there's always ways that the tribe's trying to explore access to resources. I know we've got a Four Corners monument where a lot of our tribal members go to sell their artifacts, things that arts and crafts, and I know they would love the support that they might be able to get through your office. And I know Navajo Nation down in Monument Valley got a lot of folks being flown in from Las Vegas
Mhm.
and actually getting on a horse and being toured out in that area. So we look forward to partnering. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Growing up in Kanab, I know the hospitality industry very well. Started cleaning motel rooms at age 12 and bussing tables, and so and have worked with the tribes, both Paiute tribes and Navajo tribes, extensively in my career in higher education and workforce development. So I'm very aware of the opportunities and also some of the challenges. That's why I'm a good fit for your region. That's why Ryan chose me to serve San Juan County. So it was strategic. And again, please consider me a friend and utilize me to the fullest.
I just have one more comment. Also, in the San Juan County area of the reservation, one of the things that's very hard for people to acquire is housing due to the land, the rules of the land.
Yes.
And so there are people that have good profession jobs, that they can afford to buy a home, but they cannot because of certain things. And I think somehow between the Utah government and the tribal government had to be some consensus so people can afford to have the kind of home that they want to have, and if they have the funds to pay for it. But it's very, very hard and discouraging for them to want to have a home and not be able to.
I couldn't agree more. And it's difficult, again, with the tribal lands because a lot of things depend on what's going on in Window Rock, even though it's so far away in another state. And
it's two nations,
Yep.
working with two nations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I think it just constantly working on the problems, we can overcome a lot. So thank you again for your time. And
Thanks, Colette. We
Appreciate it.
appreciate you letting us work you into our commission meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the State Division of Water Resources Watershed presentation. Hollywood, I think you're online today.
It's actually Andy Rasmussen. I'm here for Holly with the Langdon Group. And is it possible to share my screen on a slideshow, or should I just talk?
Let me get you the reins here real fast.
Okay.
Wait just a second. I lost my controls over another computer.
So my name is Andy Rasmussen. I'm with the Langdon Group. Langdon Group was contracted by the Division of Water Resources in 2020 to help them with the implementation of the Watershed Councils Act that was passed by the legislature in 2020. And just let me know when I can share here.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're just about there.
Okay. No problem.
Candy, you should be there.
Okay.
Should have a notification up for you.
Got it. Okay, can you see that?
Hold on, we're getting there as well. I don't. Let me try to get it back. We're swapped between two different computers, and so I just got to bring it over.
No problem.
You can go ahead, Andy. We got it.
Okay. So I'm just going to skip through the first part of this real quickly. So the Watershed Councils Act was formed or was passed by the legislature in 2020. Then, like everything else, everything kind of got shut down. So we began our implementation process in January of 2021. And we decided to start with the state council, and we stood up the state watershed council in 21, and it's met for the last year and a half now. And then we're moving on to, well, I tell you what, the first thing we did in 2021, while it was kind of still going, the pandemic was still going on, started out and did over 800 interviews across the state, most of them by Zoom, but with people across the state, telling them about the Council Act and what they would like to see in their neck of the woods relative to the local watershed councils. You can see here the council is to serve as a forum to encourage and facilitate discussion and collaboration by stakeholders relative to the water-related interests of the state. Now that's the state council. Each local council has a similar mission. Briefly, here's the members of the state council. You can see it's department directors and various people representing associations. You got UAC on there, League of Cities and Towns, UASD, a couple of NGOs as well. This is the state council. Now, what's next, as you see here, there are 11 local watershed councils, and then a Great Salt Lake Watershed Council that will make up will be in that shaded area up there in the upper northwest corner of the state. You folks here are in the Southeast Colorado River Council. So where we are here is, so far we have organized this year the Bear River Council, the Weber River Council, Jordan River, and Utah Lake Councils. West Desert there is up, and we'll organize them in the next couple of weeks. Wanted to start with those that are the constituent councils of the Great Salt Lake. And now we're moving elsewhere throughout the state. We've had conversations in Uinta, Sevier, Cedar, Beaver. All those are in various stages of organization. And now I'm talking with folks down here in the Southeast Colorado River. We're going to brief all the county commissions and enlist your help a little bit with some of these. Each local council will be made up of people who live or work within the watershed, or own or divert water within the watershed. But there will be, the numbers range from 9 to 21, depending on the council and on the watershed and what they think is appropriate. But the act stipulates that there are 11 interests that need to be represented, if at all possible, in each council. You see there, that's languages from the act, and a balance appropriate for the watershed and where feasible. These 11 interests: agriculture, industry, Indian tribes, public water suppliers, water planning and research. You can go down there: water quality, fish and wildlife, habitat and environments, watershed management, mutual irrigation companies, and local sponsors of reclamation projects. In addition, each council so far that's been organized, we anticipate that every other one will include multiple liaisons from state and federal agencies, BLM, UDAF, Fish and Wildlife, state water quality, et cetera, et cetera. They cannot be official voting members of a council, but they are absolutely encouraged, and we really require, we want them on the councils as liaisons. So as I said before, just real briefly about what these are and what they're not, these local watershed councils are really to encourage and facilitate discussion. And there's to be collaborative enterprises, kind of think tanks and clearinghouses for all things water related. Also, they're to be kind of grassroots policy think tanks to kind of come up with ideas they want the legislature to address and percolate that up the system. Communicating local issues and concerns also to the state council. And here this last one is relevant to you guys. Those located in the Colorado River Basin are also to advise the newly created CRA. So what they are, as I've said, they're to develop a diverse and balanced stakeholder forums and use the local expertise, the local resources found in universities, et cetera, to really kind of bring everything together water related. You know, one thing we found when we were doing the interviews is there's just a lot of disconnection and siloing in water issues throughout the state. You know, it wasn't even so much that the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing as much as the right hand sometimes didn't even know that there was a left hand. There was one instance that there were 2 NRCS projects happening on the same river, not just the same basin, on the same river simultaneously, and they didn't know about each other. And, you know, that's pretty remarkable. That wasn't atypical throughout the state. So those are the kinds of things that these councilors are meant to address. What they are not is vested with regulatory infrastructure, financing, or enforcement powers or responsibilities. So it's not another layer of regulatory government. I crossed out vested there and put burdened because really, as you know, once you invest something with any sort of enforcement powers, it really is a burden and kind of can take away from some of the collaborative nature of what might have been going on otherwise. And of course, Alexander Hamilton weighs in on that. So here are the 11 councils. You can see the 5 on the right are those that make up the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council. So each local council, once it's organized, will send a representative to the state council, and that person will then become a full-fledged voting member of the state council. These 5 on the right will also send representatives to the Great Salt Lake Council. As I said, we started with those 5. The 4 circled are those that have already been organized. West Desert is right behind them. And you guys are among the group up next. They're in the Southeast Colorado River Watershed Council. So the organizing process is what we're doing right now today. What I want to do, I go to each county commission and some other municipalities in the more populous centers along the Wasatch Front. We go to everybody and ask, you know, who would be good? Who do you think that are key voices in water interest in your county that work and play well with others, you know, and who might represent their interests and the broader community appropriately and in a collaborative fashion. Once we have that list, we have sometimes a large list, sometimes it's small, and we'll go through again and kind of refine the list. And at that point, we'll convene that large group initially, and we'll go through and we'll ask people, we'll gauge their interest and their availability to serve on this council. And then we'll hold the meeting and talk about the needs and the expectations, kind of what this is. And then they'll adopt some organizing documents and some bylaws, elect officers, and then we'll develop an application letter to the state council, who will then certify them as the local watershed council. That's where we are. I think you guys are on that list as well for the remainder of 23. That's really the extent of my slide presentation. And I'd like to ask you now if you have any questions, and then also if you have any names, you can email them to Holly, who set this meeting up. She's works with me, and we'd love to take those and get going on this down there. So any questions at all?
Is that Holly McCall?
Hollywood.
Oh, Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think we'd like to give you some nominations, but
Excellent.
We'll have to talk about those and get them to you. We'll send them to Holly.
Perfect.
Any questions, Commissioner?
No.
Okay.
Chair, I just
All
wanted
right.
to inquire on the members. Is there a certain number that's normal? Like, is it a 14 group, 10, 5?
Yeah. That's a good question. It's a good question. So far, we have a couple of them pushing the 21 limit, and then another one that's about 17. We want to have at least 11 to try and cover those interests. But that's kind of the range we're in right now, is in the teens, as typical.
And second question is, as of your 4 organized commission members, how many of those have tribal members included?
All of them. Yeah.
Awesome.
All of them.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all the questions we have, Andy.
All right. Thank you, folks. I appreciate your time.
We appreciate
Thank
your
you.
presentation, and we'll get a list back and get it to Holly.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Next is presentation by the State of Utah Administrative Office of the Courts, Chris Talbot. I believe you're online, Chris.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Great. Thank you for the time today. Chris Talbot, I'm the facilities director for the state courts. And I'm joined by Travis Erickson, who's our trial court executive from the 7th District. And wanted to spend some time with you to talk about the facility space that we lease from you and a few concerns. I know Travis and I have spoken with MAC several times over the last few years, and I know the county has tried to get funding from the state legislature to improve your facility down there. But I would like to turn the time over to Travis briefly to just talk about a few of our concerns and then offer some possible solutions for us to help with your facility repairs.
Great.
Thank you, Chris, and I'm pleased to be here remotely with you today with the commission to just share a little bit of the work that we've been working on with MAC. Over the last several years, like Chris mentioned, we've primarily worked on HVAC and electrical and moisture challenges. Obviously, the building it has served the community well for a long period of time, and I know that that the county works hard to maintain it. And of late, that's kind of what we've encountered is in particular some moisture issues in the actual courtroom itself. Which has kind of led to some degree of concern for our members of our bench. In particular, a lot of our court is remote in the 7th District, and San Juan follows suit. However, when we have in-person court, it's usually for something that is, extremely pressing, like a jury trial. And obviously the last thing we want to have happen is we don't want to have negative impacts on the equipment that's in the courtroom. And we also certainly don't want to have negative impacts on, say, local members of the community who maybe serve on jury trials or serve as a juror, that kind of thing. And so we have been talking to MAC about ways to resolve and mitigate some of those challenges. And we know that, again, like Chris said, we know you're working hard to try to find some alternatives and some options. And we're glad to be here today to kind of hopefully find some ways we can work together.
Great, thanks, Travis. And so I understand the challenges that San Juan County is facing with this, and I wish I could spend state funds on a lease space, but that's just not in my ability to do. But I do have significant concerns about moisture and air quality in that courtroom. I know MAC is already working on trying to get a study to make us all feel better about the space while you guys are trying to get the repairs done. And I've never done this before, but I'm willing to look at the option of prepaying rent if that provides you the funding to help do a more substantial roof repair. We've spoken to MAC about, that roof is probably our biggest concern at this point and preventing further damage. But, just looking at our lease that we've signed, we've got 2 more years left on the current lease before we would look at renewing it. So that'd be FY 24 and 25 for us. And just looking at those 2 years, that would be a total of $58,349 left on that lease. And before I go to my supervisors and talk to state finance about prepaying that rent and how they feel about that, I just wanted to get a consensus to see if that's something that the county would be interested in, to create a little bit of funding to help us rectify these concerns, or whether that's not worth the effort to pursue that option. So that's kind of what we wanted to appear and propose to this group. So I'll leave it for comment at this point.
Mac, do you want to say anything about that? You okay?
I think a lot of it is just I appreciate the state courts coming in and offering that as an opportunity. We can certainly look at that. One of the things that we've been stuck on, and you all are aware of our situations and circumstances, we've had a roofer that we've reached out to multiple times, multiple roofers throughout this area to try to get somebody to come in and give us an estimate. That's been super difficult. We haven't even though we have funds available for some of these projects, we can't even get the contractor to even wink at us to even entertain it. And so it's something that we've got to continue to explore. I like the state's offering, and it's something that I think it's worthwhile considering. We just got to find the costs of what it will take to fix that up there. And then once we know the costs, we can further go into negotiations with them on trying to see what we need to do to amend or receive those upfront funds to help participate. We do have some other funds that are available that we could offset for the repairs. It's just getting cost and getting prices. We have reached out to Gordian Group. Gordian Group is a state contracted vendor that is throughout the whole entire state that does small projects under $200,000 for state, city, counties that we've reached out to. We've got a meeting set up with them to come down. They have subs that they work through up north that he thinks that they can get down here, take a look at the roof, and more importantly, probably do the measurements, the atmospheric measurements inside on the environmental concern with the mold to see if there are that. And we're all familiar with swamp coolers here in this county. We all kind of have that in our homes. This is kind of how this region is. On that building there, they're kind of just high grade swamp coolers that are feeding that building. And so we definitely understand that there may be some concerns there, but I think with the evaluation, when we looked at trying to find a firm that could come in and perform that evaluation, they don't even have that here, that capability. And so up north, they do it a lot. And hopefully this Gordian Group will be able to help us kind of figure everything out. And so it's difficulty. We've been, trying to put a Band-Aid on that. In the courts, when you look at the proposal for the remodel, that courts piece, that whole wall and everything is moved forward. So we add on to that space to make it a little bit more safety, especially safe for the judges while they're in court. But until we receive the funds, we're kind of stuck trying to Band-Aid it. But yet we do have to pay attention, and it's one of the things that we commit to with the state, that we will maintain to the state standard of their buildings. They've got a building standards that our facilities director is well aware of, and it's making sure that we are taking care of the public and our employees that are in that side. And so it's hard to say right now whether we need the 58,000 until we get the study and find out what's going on with it, and then figure out what's going on with the roof. As speaking with our facility director, he thinks it's not the roof, it may be the wall on there, which is another issue. And so we definitely have got an all points inspection that will take place up there in that area.
So would you like me to sit tight on making those making the request then?
I would
Until-
until we have, because I think it'd be
Okay.
on your side of it, it'd be good to have the full numbers so that, and I think on our side of it as well, it'd be good to know that, hey, the county's participating in this much. They just need this much here to help us get over the hurdle.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the time. I just want to let you know of the 36 facilities that I lease statewide. This is my biggest concern, is getting that air quality test performed in the courtroom. I think we can focus on the courtroom. We're not concerned about the offices we occupy, but the courtroom, where we've had plastic laminate peeling up off the
Yeah,
the
the
council
desks,
tables in that
yeah.
room in the past.
Yep.
With moisture and things in that room. So if we could please focus on that, and Mac, timely communication, letting us know where you are in the process. I feel your pain when you're trying to get subs to respond in a remote area. I have those difficulties in other remote spaces in the past. So I feel your pain. Keep us in the loop. Timely communication on an urgent issue is always important. Even if it's not good news, at least you're keeping us in the loop and letting us know that you're doing all you can to get our concerns rectified.
Certainly.
Okay,
Great.
we've
Go ahead.
been trying to work on this building for a number of years to get the remodeling and do some additions, and it's just, I always call it the too far from Salt Lake syndrome.
Right. I've worked with smaller communities in Wayne County and those others that call me and said, can you support our project? We're adding court space to this. But unfortunately, the court doesn't carry the clout that you would think when it comes to requesting agency funds. It took me a good 4 years to get funding for a Manti courthouse. And I was dealing with the same thing you guys were off the Wasatch Front, trying to get funding for a facility, and courthouses and jails and secured facilities are not cheap. So you have my support. I just can't offer it on a funding support because I have my own challenges.
Well, we appreciate that, Chris, and we appreciate being able to talk with you and Travis this morning. We will
Great.
do our best to keep you informed.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is 2 items from Lyman Duncan. Are you going to take those?
Yes, we do want to excuse Lyman
Yeah.
today. Let me see why he's up north. Let me find my...
Lyman's boy has some medical issues and it requires Lyman to be there. So we'll excuse him.
Okay, here we go. So we have a presentation of the proclamation that has been issued by Governor Cox regarding elections, and we've all seen some of the notices in the papers and kind of on the news recently regarding, and this kind of all started with Representative Chris Stewart as he resigned his position in Congress. That opened up this need to move dates and have a special election to fill his position. Because of that, the governor sent out the proclamation issuing that this notice that the dates have changed on here. We've got Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. So this is the primary special congressional elections dates that have been announced. So Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, and the general special congressional election has been set for Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. Continuing on down here, he also has, I've got to find it, the city and
Right
the
there, it's
municipality.
number 2.
So I've got in here, they've made an appropriation, obviously, to host this special election and elections in general. They're changing the date for the 2023 municipal primary elections from August 15th to September 5th, 2023. And so notice that those election dates have changed for primary, as well as the general election dates have changed. The 2023 municipal general election will now be on November 7th to November 21st. We've got a canvassing deadline in here that's noticed of September 5th, 2023. And then on here, they've established the deadline by which a voter may change the voter's political party affiliation for the September 5th, 2023 primary special congressional election. And in here, there's another announcement that we're trying to catch up on as far as, and I'll read this just from the email that came out. Party affiliation. It says that unaffiliated voters can join a party at any time. Voters that are affiliated may not join another political party or unaffiliate from a political party beginning the day after the governor signs the bill through the primary election. And the bill they're referencing is House Bill 2001. The governor plans to sign that within the next 10 days. So I don't have an exact date on when that'll take place, but just know that that is out there. So we'll be watching for when the governor signs that, but our staff will also be watching to make sure that registrations that come in to change affiliate groups or parties, that they're done appropriately and before that bill signing date takes place. And so this has kind of created a fun opportunity for our voters and our voting offices and municipalities that are trying to gear up for this next election. So that's kind of what I've got for.
Even though Chris Stewart does not represent this part of the state, we won't be voting on that representative office, but and statewide elections are very expensive to run. But I think the effort here is to combine the municipal and the office for representative in District 2 to combine those so that they're all held on the same day.
Correct.
So
it did shift the dates. And so that was the biggest thing, is just to make sure municipalities are aware of those voting dates and primary dates as well.
And you have the 2023 property tax abatement.
I do. This one is more of just a notification that last year we did the same thing. We published this in the paper regarding property tax assistance, abatement opportunities that our individual, our community members, citizens here throughout the county would have. You have the veterans abatement if they're legally blind or unmarried surviving spouse. You've got the 66 years and older that and a widow or a widower there's an abatement on here. If you're indigent, disabled, or under extreme hardship, there's an abatement that's allowed on here. In the notice that he's publishing in the newspaper, it'll have exactly what you're supposed to provide when you do request that abatement. They're pretty specific to which abatement that you're applying under, of which documents are required to make sure that we can verify that you're entitled to that abatement.
Okay, and that'll be published.
With that, yes. And so all of this, and this is kind of a notice to the public that we need to have, if you are wishing to sign up for an abatement, these tax relief forms must be filled out, completed, signed, and dated, as well as returned to the clerk's office prior to September 1st, 2023. And so this kind of gives you enough time where it's June 20th to meet that deadline of September 1st, 2023. If there's any members of the public who are confused or have any questions regarding whether or not they qualify for an abatement, or if they're eligible, please reach out to the county's clerk auditor's office, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that we can.
Okay, that concludes our recognition and presentations. We'll go to our business action items. And the first two, I assume you're handling those
we'll
as
take
well,
those
Mac.
as well.
First, go ahead.
Every municipal election, we enter into a contract to provide municipal election services to our cities and towns in the county. This one here, the first one that we have out of the gate is Bluff, the town of Bluff. In here, we've provided, obviously, what we're going to be doing as hosting the primary and municipal general election for them. Kind of all of the things that we offer, the county's obligations, as well as the town's obligations during that election and that election process. In here, and as an exhibit, we do have the cost estimates that we provided to the town of Bluff. Those are cost estimates. We try to get them as close as possible, knowing that these are estimates that may run over or they may be less than what we anticipated. But this is just a standard agreement that we will have for also Monticello and Blanding here to come.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with the town of Bluff for primary and general election services?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 13.
Okay, this next one is a consideration and approval of the 2023 glamping campground alcohol application. Let me spin real fast to where they're at. I didn't really have any concerns with this other than just the tongue-in-cheek. To be a alcohol retailer, you can't be within so many distance of the church. I don't know if Church Rock counts, but you have Church Rock right there in the background. But we are fine as staff with this application that they've provided for alcohol in this area. But this kind of gives you a little bit more familiarity. Commissioner Adams calls this the turtle. And then you have
No, that's alligator.
Or is this alligator? Oh, so
That's alligator.
Is alligator?
The official name of it is George Rock, but it looks like an alligator to me.
And then Church Rock across the way. This is Highway 191.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this application? I'll make a motion to approve it. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jamie. Further discussion, Sylvia?
I just, so this will be open for the public. Anybody can come and buy alcohol there? Is that the
Well, they,
operation? Or
For
it's
the
just
resort.
or just for the customers that come there?
They've
the
applied
resort.
in for, so it's not, they've got a type 1 is what they're applying for, which is a hotel, ski lodge, summer recreational area, and resort environment to serve the general public
Okay.
and guests. And so that's the application that they've filled out for. And so
Okay.
you could have general public stop in, but I don't see that really happening. It's mainly for those people that stay there.
people that are glamping.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 14, Tammy. And you've got the next several.
14 through 23.
Okay.
So what they are in-home services contracts. Do you want to go through each one?
If you'll give us the first one, just kind of an overview of it, I think we can go through them fairly
Okay.
quick.
Okay, so the first one is a consideration and approval of a contract with Zion's Way to purchase caregiver in-home services. So they help us run our program. They provide the service.
And they've worked with us before.
Yeah, these are all just renewals of the contracts that we do every year.
Do you have a motion to approve the contract with Zion's Way?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 15.
This one is also with Zion's Way. It is to purchase alternatives in home care services. So same form of contract, different program.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Sylvia makes a motion.
Second.
Second by Jamie.
Question.
Any further discussion?
That's a question.
I've
Okay.
got a question, Chair. What kind of alternative services?
So, Alternatives is a state run program. It generally takes care of people 60 and over, and caregiver takes care of the caregiver with the care receiver. But Alternatives can provide housekeeping, respite, personal care. Personal care has to be done by somebody that is licensed, and that would be through the home health agencies.
Okay, thank you for the
Mhm.
clarification.
You're welcome.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 16.
Number 16 is purchasing caregiver services through Comfort at Home Care. Same form as the Zion's Way, just a different company.
Have they worked with us before?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Sylvia.
Second.
Second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 17, Tammy.
17 is purchasing alternative services through Comfort at Home Care, same as the Zion's Way contract.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Sylvia.
Second.
Second by Jamie. Further discussion? We have to have more than one company that offer these
Yep.
similar or same services, Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 18.
Number 18 is a contract for translation services with Edward Tapaha. We've used him for many years to go out with our case managers and the RN to do client assessments, and this is just a renewal of
This
that
is an
contract.
in-home program also.
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
A motion. I do a motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion by Sylvia, second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 19.
Number 19 is a contract with Rocky Mountain Personal Care to purchase alternative services. And it's the same as the Comfort at Home Care and the Zion's Way Care.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. Further discussion?
I just have a question. Are all these companies local companies?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 20.
Number 20 is a contract with Rocky Mountain Home Health. So one was personal care and this one's home health, purchasing alternative services. Same thing, just the name was personal care and health.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. 21.
21 is a renewal of the contract with Utah Legal Services. It's only for about $1,500 every year, and they provide legal counsel for the seniors of our county that reach out to them.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 22, Tammy.
22 is a renewal of the contract for caregiver services with Rocky Mountain Home Health.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 23.
Number 23 and the last one
Okay.
is an approval of a renewal of a contract with Sheila Knight, who is an RN, and she contracts with us to go out and do our waiver assessments. Those have to be done by a registered nurse, and they have to be trained on how to do that.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sylvia,
Second.
second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you.
That was all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David, County Fire Chief.
Fire labor. So this is a document that has been in existence since 2017, and it's they wanted a signature on this participating commitment for fire.
So we've done it before?
Oh yeah, been doing it since 2017.
Okay.
They have a new director, and you met him when he came down and presented with the commissioner. Because of the change in leadership there, he's asked for more time to get back to these agreements and make other changes. But in the meantime, he just wants this extension. So that's what this contract represents. It's just an extension in time.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Jamie,
A second.
second by Sylvia. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 I also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
And this other document that came in, I wasn't aware of it, but it's just telling you what studies they go through on the fuel, moisture, and stuff when they close the fire season. So it's not really a document that we need to sign on.
Okay,
So it's just more informational.
very good.
This is the mitigation that you already perform.
Okay,
Right. Well, the first document, yes. This other one is just the fire restrictions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's just a study that they do.
Okay.
Any questions?
thank you, David.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Hey, I
We
stuck
gonna have
around.
any fires this year?
I went on one Sunday, so
Oh,
here
did
we
you
go.
Sunday, huh?
They usually happen on Sundays in the evenings. And
Yeah, around a holiday.
sorry,
Holiday and a Sunday, huh?
Anyway, so
Okay.
Number 25,
Gracias.
consideration and approval of Spanish Valley Overnight Accommodations Overlay Application. Mac, you want to do that?
Yeah.
Or do you
Let's
want
see.
the applicant to do it?
No, I can do it, and then I'll turn some time over to the applicant.
Okay.
I appreciate you recognizing that we do have the applicant here today with this in this stage of the process. Let's see on here. As far as a summary, and I'm filling in as the planning as well now. And so the Gardner Plum LLC is applying for the Spanish Valley Overnight Accommodations Overlay for 72 acres of private property in Spanish Valley as described below. And you have the parcels there. You've got one parcel of 35.92 acres. The other parcel is 10.01 acres. Parcel 3 is 26.34 acres. If you remember back in May 16th, commissioners, you had approved the zoning, a rezone of that property. So the parcels are now in a residential flex planned community district. The application is to request to both apply the Spanish Valley overlay as well as the development plans, kind of marrying those two together. The request and everything, how we noticed it on the agenda was just to consider approval of the Spanish Valley Overnight Accommodations Overlay application. So really all we can consider today is the overlay being placed on the property. Does that make sense on there? Okay. And so
is this a second step?
so this is exactly the
Step two of
second
a
step.
three-step process?
Yeah. So first one, step one in this overlay district applies the overlay to the property, and that's what we're here to do today. Step 2 is to attach the specific project or development to this area, and then step 3 is a development agreement, project plan, and just kind of for me as a reminder, the state legislator this last year looked at some of the arduous processes that cities and counties are putting developers through. This is one of those that I worry for, and we're going to have to meet with our attorneys to see if this is appropriate. But I mean, the developer's been here; they gave their concept and everything for the development, at the time of the rezone, and we approved that. Now they're here for an overlay. Then they're going to come back for their concept. Then they're going to come back for a development agreement. That's a lot of hoops to jump through, and so we definitely do have to look at that. But nevertheless, this is a 3-step consideration process that is outlined in our current ordinances for this. The Planning Commission did hear this. They went through. They held the public hearing on March 9th for the rezoning application. This is what you guys had voted on. And then I'm just following the succession of plans here. On June 8th, Planning Commission meeting, Planning Commission voted to recommend step 1 to attach the Spanish Valley overnight accommodations overlay to specified parcels of land. They voted unanimously to recommend the overlay, if you remember right. When the initial voting on the rezone, it was a 3-2 vote. This last one on the overlay, they voted unanimously to recommend the overlay to that. The kind of as just a refresher, I'm going to see, I might have to turn it to the developer on here to go over the concept plans, because I know that we continue to hear some of the public comments about affordable housing, things like that they're including in the development itself. And so maybe you can go through your slides. Let me tee it up real fast. So that
Can I just add one thing, Matt?
Yeah.
When this development is finalized and you're ready to build, you're going to have to get clearance from our road superintendent on the road. And have you met with him?
We met with TJ. Is that right?
Yeah,
We met with him
TJ.
out on this property 4 months ago, I think, and talked to him about that. Predominantly, there was legal access that the landowner cleared up. That we didn't. The easement through Sitla didn't quite abut the property, so they cleared that up, and now the county has that legal access right to the edge of the property. And then the other part was the extension of Old Airport Road that we would like to do, and we talked to TJ about that. In fact, he's the one that sent me some of the information that's in the slides here.
Well, he's here today.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
hey, TJ. I didn't recognize. You can walk in.
TJ, you're working on ingress and egress with these guys then?
So the one road they have that's paved. The other one's the one by the clinic, but that's county owns half, but Sitla owns the other half. And so once you pass the clinic, we have no road. It's an old 2-track, but it's not paved or anything. So that's one of the things I think that's in.
So have you had conversation with Sitla, TJ? On
I have not.
I think that's something that
Have
at
you
some
guys-
point
you
we
guys
need
have
to
spoke
do,
to them.
because if Sitla owns half the road, they ought to be participating.
I met with Sitla, I think
you
last
did,
week or the
okay.
week before, and we talked through this, and they're willing to participate in that and work with us to do that extension.
Good.
So yeah, those conversations are taking place,
Okay.
both from the applicant as well as staff on there to make sure. That was one of the concerns of the Planning Commission, if I remember right. They had just with the density in here, making sure that once it comes to the lodge area and that, which was a little bit further south, and I'm sure your presentation touches on that. It's easy to come off of Allen Street, but that's a lot of traffic just to be opposed on that one. So looking at an alternative route out and in is preferable, and so we are working on that to try to help mitigate some of that. There are adjacent developers and developments proposed around this that we're looking at and trying to figure out how does it fit in the Sitla's concept plan as well, to make sure that those roads are lining up with what Sitla wants to do in the future as well, so that we're just not placing a road in here to appease one development, that we're considering kind of everything that's going on around this area, and to make sure that it all kind of ties in.
Yeah, we've talked with Sitla about that, and the Thomas property, formerly the Thomas property, is to the south of us. They have a 120 lot development that's early stage of actually being built, and we're working with them to align roads and utilities and stuff as well.
And I'm sure you've heard some of the concerns of local people, and we need to try to address those concerns as much as we can. And I'll just let you go ahead now. And
Okay. Yeah, and maybe before, if you could queue up that PowerPoint, Mac, that would be great. But maybe just a couple of things on the comments from the public. When someone mentioned, or a few people have mentioned, they need affordable housing, which the locally employed community can afford, and I totally get that. You know, I'm on the phone with Randy often, calling down to see if we can find land that we can do affordable housing. Moab is incredibly expensive from a land price, and it makes it really hard to do what locally employed people can afford. I'm empathetic of that. 2 weeks ago, Randy and I met with Monticello City because we heard they have a housing need. They have a housing need here, and we're trying to see if we can make that work. 2 years ago, partners and I bought 11 acres on Spanish Valley Drive, north of this property in Grand County, and it's zoned 1 acre per lot, and that makes money. But our thinking was we'd rather do a project where we can try to get tighter densities and bring the price down. But the public came out and was really unhappy with it. The neighbors and also the county up there didn't approve it. To me, it seemed like a big waste of land. So we are empathetic to the housing needs for the community, but it's a difficult thing to do. It really is. Okay, so I don't have a controller.
You can run it just like a regular computer.
Great, thanks. That's if I know how to run a mouse. Which button do you push to? I don't ever use a mouse, so
you can holler.
Well, I can do it if you just show me, but yeah, the next slide. So, our goals are to build a high quality.
You're not mouse certified, then?
I'm not. No, I quit using one about 10 years ago, so I don't know.
Cell phone certified either.
We want to build a high quality project. We would like to create a community that will bring in revenue. As we heard in an earlier presentation, there's a lot of money that comes into the greater area, and we'd like to help San Juan County acquire some of that through TRT and increased property taxes. Next slide. So, when we're looking at the overlay, it talks about the Spanish Valley Plan and also meeting the ordinances. And the area plan is supposed to be a high-level description of what generally is a vision for the area, and it's not supposed to provide perfect clarity or direction. And you can see that according to state law, the general plan is an advisory guide for land use decisions, the impact of which shall be determined by ordinance. And although that's the case, in my application, I won't bore you with it here. We went through the plan and pulled in a lot of the things where we do conform with the plan. But the most important thing is going to be the ordinances. And the next slide there, please. So in the Spanish Valley ordinances, we find that the conditionally, I think we skipped one. Sorry.
I did.
It looks like the permitted uses. Yeah, maybe I threw them out of order by accident. So we have the permitted uses, which are pretty clear about the things we're asking for a variety of residential uses. And then the next slide, within the ordinances, it talks about the conditional uses. That's the next one. Sorry, Mac. Where basically it has a bunch of uses that can be listed within the chapter, or basically any other additional uses. And that's where the lodge and the hotel would fit in as a conditional use that's supported by what's listed in the ordinances. Next slide. So the county attorney, as we know, issued a legal opinion that the overnight overlay can be applied to residential flex, which is the current zoning for the property. And we had our attorney go through it, and he concluded the same thing. Next page, please. And maybe you can just skip 2, actually. We'll go through this a little quicker. That second white color one. So this is Utah code addressing how to address ordinances if they... See, I'm glad you're doing it, not me. No, I'd be worse. So basically, they say you should interpret the code in the plainest language possible when there's confusion in the regulations. But what we didn't really discuss about last time, or even with the planning commission, was part 2. Is if the land use regulation does not plainly restrict a land use application, the land use authority shall interpret and apply the land use regulation to favor the land use application. So I think it's pretty clear that unless it specifically excludes it, it should be an approved use. The overlay should be. And you can skip 2 there. Yep.
We've got a left-handed mouse, and he's trying to run it right-handed. So.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh.
It won't show up.
Okay, and so the slide right before that says one in the ordinances that the overnight overlay can provide an economic, have the potential to be an important part of the Spanish Valley and San Juan County economy. And so the next slide there, we would like to create this project, master plan it, and create that community that is able to bring in the money for the county. Next slide. The other important part of the economic aspect is we feel like as we build this out and when it gets fully built out, the residents and the visitors to the Balanced Rock Resort will help support the build out and the future businesses are going to be in Sitla's neighborhood center that's planned there. And then you can see that's abutting this property. It's right next door. So we feel like our people can just run over there and, I hope they have a wide variety of commercial options there. They'll serve not just our resort, but also the greater community as well. Next slide. The overlay ordinance shall be applied to all new proposals to ensure approved projects minimize community impacts and result in tangible community benefits through the application of creative design. That's what we would like to do with this overlay, is come in and get ahead of the problems we see kind of to the neighborhood to the north, where it's a patchwork of overlay home or overnight homes, and create a community that can handle what we'd like to create there for overnights, and also where people buy into a community knowing up front that that's what they're going to get. There's no surprises down the road. So I went through, I talked to someone at the county that does the licensing, and I can't think of his name offhand, or tracks this stuff. And you can see within 1,000 feet, there are, the orange stars are homes that are licensed with the county for overnight rentals. The purple one right at the bottom there, what's that? I can't color, reddish, pink, is in a property it's a business property. In fact, that was owned by one of the people who called, or two of the people who called in own that property. They run a business out of there and sometimes do overnight rentals out of it. The green one is an unlicensed nightly rental, and then way up in the north, more than 1,000 feet away, is an RV park that does overnight rentals to trailers and stuff. And then next slide, back in April, I just did a random search on Vrbo and a bunch of other sites and came up with about 16 homes advertised in the greater neighborhood just to the north of us that do overnight rentals. And I've been told by neighbors and other people in the area that number is actually low, that 16. It should be quite a bit higher than that. There are a number of accessory dwellings in there and going in. And so we feel like we are not that different than what has already been going on in that neighborhood. We would like to just be in parity with what they're doing already. You're getting good. I don't have to even say it now. Okay.
His left hand.
Yeah. Oh. So now, members of the public in the past, and even today, have said that they don't need more overnight rentals in the area. And one argument of that they mentioned was the affordable housing, and we'll get to that a little more in a minute. But the other thing is, I think there is a demand for overnight rentals. A few weeks ago, I did a search on the MLS. I'm a realtor, and came up with only 13 properties for sale that allow overnight rentals. And that's in the whole Greater Valley, including Moab all the way down through the end of Spanish Valley. I think we skipped something there. And then while we will add additional overnight rentals to that community, we got to remember that community is not really built out, that North San Juan County. There's a 120 lot subdivision that's underdeveloped right now. And then also Sitla, the giant, is planning to put in over 3,000 residential units in the coming years. So I think, our 220 overnight rentals plus a lodge are going to really pale in comparison to that greater community. Right now it looks like a lot, but I think down the road it's just going to blend right in and be a small part of that. And then it's interesting, I pulled out of their Sitla's community structure plan, that next section in red, the 9,640 equivalent residential connections is what they plan for that greater area. So it's going to be a very, very large community at some point down in the future. Next slide. So as I mentioned before, this overlay will allow us to create a community where people will be able to buy into a community that's designed for overnights and that they'll know what they're getting to up front. It's going to be a clean, orderly, and highly planned community. Someone mentioned they were talking about noisy RVs and ATVs. I don't like that. I plan to live in this community. I don't like that either. And I would like to get in front of that and control that as much as we can. I know there are probably state laws that limit noise ordinances. You have to have licensed vehicles to drive on the roads. I think all those things can be used to mitigate some of those problems. And maybe not 100%, but I think if there are scofflaws, then we go ahead and address that as they occur. We're going to provide a wide range of housing types for people, and this could be for for locally employed and also visitors to the area. Next step.
Do you know how many homes you would consider affordable that are in the development?
Yeah, well, that's a little bit farther down here. Yeah, yep. So community benefit, Gardner Plum is known for building high quality projects. And one thing I think we can help do is come into this area and help set a good standard for architectural integrity, building nice resort amenities, and building a community that can help kind of set the standard for future build outs, whether it's Sitla or other neighboring properties as well. And so that's an example of a project we built with overnight overlays in St. George. Those are homes there. Next step down slide will be that's the clubhouse and the pool and the sport courts. Another community benefit is that we're going to have open space and trails. As we talked about in the Planning Commission meeting, this is not, I mean, these are going to be public roads going through there connecting to neighboring properties. So the greater community can come in and walk on these trails if they want. We're not trying to keep people out of it. There'll be trails, clubhouse, pool, pickleball courts, and the clubhouse and pool would be reserved for people within the specific HOA within the resort. So that wouldn't be necessarily for the greater community unless they have friends that live in there. Next slide. So this is your question. Part of the overnight overlay process asked for us to work on employee and affordable housing. And so what we did is we took that whole north end of the lots that we had up there that were single family lots, and we converted those into being dedicated to for locally employed people. And so there'll be 7 duplex lots up there. So someone could come in and buy a duplex who works and lives in the wants to live in the area, works in the area, and then they could rent out the other half to help supplement their mortgage payment on that. And then on the end, the fourplex, we anticipate that would be probably for housing for the lodge. Whoever builds that out, they could do that for employee housing. And if that doesn't come to fruition, then that could be tossed into that same pool and offered up to people who are employed in the greater area. Next slide. So this came up also on the discussion. One of the public comments was about they were against the density of the project. So originally, this area was zoned Spanish Valley residential, which allows 4 to 5 units per acre. The switch to residential flex maintained that same 4 to 5 units per acre. So that's 289 to 361 units. In reality, we're looking at closer probably to 350 units, and that's if you count the lodge units as 1 unit, which is not the standard. Typically, those get discounted because they're smaller in size and they use fewer resources. So the equivalent residential units that we have proposed right now is 259. Just to be honest, when we come back to look at the next step 3 or 2, I lost track of what numbers they are. When we come back to apply the density to this project, that may go up a little bit just because I need to do the economics on the affordable housing and see if we can make that work. Next slide. Now, interestingly, the Sitla Neighborhood Center, which is right next door, has a density of 8 units per acre, which is quite a bit more than what we're proposing. And so if you applied that 8 units per acre to the 72 acres that we're working on, that'd be 578 units. We're coming in not quite half that, but quite a lot lower than a few hundred units lower than what that number would be. So our density is a lot less than what's already been approved for Sitla. So mitigating impacts on the neighbors, I think that's really important, as was discussed. There aren't many existing homes near Balanced Rock Resort right now, and we'll go through some of those in a minute. Let's see, there we go. The employee affordable housing will help buffer the overnight rentals from the houses to the north. That's in a future slide. I wasn't sure if I was going to be present, so I actually threw an extra slide in here. I was going to just talk about it, and this was to catch your attention. But we can go down to the map there, that layout. So I went around and measured the nearest structures and homes to the property. On the south, it's 260 feet. The hangar off to the east is, maybe back up one. I can't quite see my number, 800 feet. And then next slide down. So this is probably where most of the people who,
That one?
no, one down.
260.
There we go. So I measured that. So there are about 4 homes just barely to the north of this property. And so it's very few number, but the closest is 55 feet. I measured from the closest corner of the home to our property line. And so that's actually the closest home is 55 feet. And then the next slide, I went into more detail. And so you've got the 55 feet, and then you've got a 50-foot road, and then a 75 feet deep lots of the affordable employee housing. And so we're 125 feet. The overnight rentals, I presume that the county, well, I shouldn't presume that. The Planning Commission indicated that maybe they didn't want the employee affordable housing to have any overnight component to it, which I think that it doesn't matter to us really, but I actually think that's probably the way it should go and provide more affordable housing for locals. But so the distance from the overnight rentals is 125 feet from the property line, and then it's another 55 feet for a total of 180 feet from the closest home. So we do, I know that 100-foot buffer came up. The other thought during the planning commission was possibly putting a wall across that north property line to provide some more privacy for those homes up on that north end, to the north of us. Next one. The lodge is, as you can see here, it's more than 1,000 feet from the nearest structure. That's just an airplane hangar off to the east, and it's 1,200 feet from the nearest home. Next down. The other thing we want to do to mitigate any impacts and actually to improve traffic flow more than anything is to extend that old airport road, and that's that green line there. That's about 1,200 feet, and we're willing to put money into that to help build out that extension. And that was a conversation we had with SITLA a few weeks ago. Well, in part with other things, road alignments and things like that in general. And so the county, when they bought that approximately 10 acres where the clinic is, and where I think where you're planning to put like a paramedic building and stuff like that, they set that aside. This came out of the purchase sale agreement. So this is the survey that was done, and so the county actually owns the north side of that 80-foot wide right of way, and SITLA in the documents is bound to dedicate the other half of that. So it's pretty clear, and help participate in the build out of that. And that's part of the conversation we had with them. I think the great thing about extending that road is going to encourage our people, maybe as the greater area gets built out, to not just to continue over to Spanish Valley Drive, but then to continue all the way to US 191 as opposed to using Spanish Valley as much. It's a better alignment.
Back to the Green Road.
Yeah.
So tell me what your plan is as far as participating in the development of that road.
Development is the way that purchase sale agreement is written. I don't have the specific details, but my recollection is that it was written that SITLA and the county would participate in paying for the development of that road when it got developed, and the land dedications were already called out. We would like to participate dollar signs into that equation, and that would be worked out between the county and SITLA and us to put money into that to build it.
You haven't worked that out yet.
No.
But you're planning on it.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the yellow road.
Yeah.
Whose is that?
That's your road.
Okay.
That's county road.
We already own it?
Yeah, that's correct.
How wide is that, PJ? Do you know?
Oh, it's in that documents when sitting. We just barely did it, but I can't remember
But it's wide enough that it'll handle the traffic.
Yeah, it's wide enough, and it was one that was paved during that water and sewer project.
Okay.
So it's that whole yellow road to where it hits the blue is all paved.
Okay.
We're also working with SITLA, so the fuchsia colored lines within the property that have arrows pointed out. We're having conversations with SITLA about where we can provide secondary access, and it may just be on like a temporary emergency use basis where we would put in a road 20, 25 feet wide that could be used for emergency access only until SITLA figures out where the roads will really go, and then we would abandon those temporary roads. But we are thinking down the road of how we can give proper access to the greater community.
Okay.
Next slide. So our traffic engineer actually pointed out something kind of interesting. He said that actually an overnight overlay could potentially reduce the amount of traffic as opposed if you didn't have an overnight overlay. And the reason why, and I think Lane you mentioned last one of the meetings that maybe I think the greater Moab area only has like a 60% occupancy rate on Airbnbs or overnight rental properties. So we may actually see less traffic than if we did a regular residential development there. Next step, water. We don't need to go into this too much. I think. Well, actually, one of the public comments again was about excessive use of water. I went through and actually did a lot of research on this and found that typically people who use overnight residential residences typically use less water than if they're staying in a hotel or a motel. Also of interest is if you can educate those people through like leaving little placards out or flyers and explain why we live in a desert. We don't waste the water. They actually tend to be very receptive to that. So we think we can get in front of that and actually not use excessive amounts of water. Obviously, the county and the special service district have put a lot of money into developing that $500,000 gallon storage tank and the new well up on the right next to the property. And we feel like we're proposing a project that can put that infrastructure to great beneficial use. There's utilities right along that north line. There's water, sewer, gas, and electricity. So it's really perfectly sited for that. And we can skip another one. So this came out of the recent, the well report for the greater area. The name of the group is on the next slide. That's fine. You go up. But I thought it was interesting because this calls out what the kind of the fuchsia colored or the purpley, magenta. Those are kind of the overall water rights for the area. And you can see along the bottom, you've got groundwater and sewer for culinary. You've got them for irrigation. Then you have the Moab City for culinary and irrigation. But you can see San Juan, Spanish Valley has very few by comparison. And then the kind of that purplish colored, those bars are what was actually pulled out in, so the Special Service District only used 13% of their potential water rights last year. And you can see that is very insignificant when compared to the rest of the valley users on water. So we feel like we'll make a very minor impact on the overall water use in the area, greater area. Next step. As I mentioned, water, sewer. We've been talking. In fact, Scott 2 weeks ago sent me the latest. You can skip that one. We talked about that. Skip sent us the county stormwater greater plan, and we've had meetings with Sitla about that, and also the neighbor to the south of us, how we can all work together to meet the standards set in that document and make sure that we don't cause any downstream problems. And we've got retention and detention ponds. Overflow parking is important to us, not only in that one circle. It's about little over an acre on that right-hand side, but we have some other areas we could add additional parking if needed for overflow parking so we don't end up with a mess on the streets. Next slide. Lighting, night sky, or dark sky, we're really going to push that. I've had meetings with a couple of the neighbors to the south and to the east and talked how that's important to them and things we can do to help minimize impacts on them. So in summary, we feel like the ordinance support what we're asking for, and we ask for an approval of the overnight overlay.
Questions?
I just have a comment. I had the opportunity to come to all the planning meetings, and I just sit in the back and listen and see the process. And as I watched going through the process, it wasn't an easy. People really consider every step of the way. And I was so impressed by the commissioners. These are volunteer commissioners, and they come and they make hard decisions, and they took into consideration every step, and they didn't hurry anything. They just following the path, And I, as a commissioner, I appreciate, because I know that when it comes before us, it's not just something that it was tossed there and there. You can see by the voting, there was 3 and then 5, and it was so nice to see them, because they come, each of those commissions come from different area of the county, and so it was just very learning experience for me, and just watching not only your group, other groups that come, and they're very patient with the process, and I appreciate that, because anyway, so I don't have questions, because my questions were answered lots of time, not only by the commissioner or the presenters, even some of the questions in the public meetings, how the citizen of that area, how they feel, and I know they're sincere. Their concerns are sincere, so I appreciate the process, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Do we have a motion to approve the project?
The overnight.
Yeah, the overlay.
I motion to approve the overlay.
Consider the approval of Spanish Valley Overlay Accommodations Overlay Application. You made a motion, Jamie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Jamie and a second by Sylvia. Further discussion? I see none. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
So you're welcome to move on to the next part of your process. Your next hoop, huh?
Hey, one last point is, and maybe people are still on, if people out there have land or they know neighbors wanting to sell land that would work on affordable housing, I would love to do a project in Spanish Valley on that. So just putting that out there, get in touch with me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, MAC, consideration and approval of the Snow Minor Subdivision Amendment 1.
Okay, the Snow Minor subdivision was created in 2006 with 2 lots. So in here you'll have the original plat from 2006. The proposed subdivision amendment splits lot 1 into 3 separate smaller lots as shown on the attached plan. All of these lots, these new lots, it's important to note that they will access through an existing access easement that is proposed to be extended on the development. This is in Spanish Valley. If you look at the second page on here, so on the screen, got it on here, North Mount Peel Road is just off of this point, and then on their vicinity you can kind of see that how that runs kind of more of a east and west. As they take this one lot, split it into 3, you can kind of see on here their subdivision has lot 1A, lot 1B, and lot 1C now, and this was all just lot 1.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. MAC, consideration and approval of Spanish Valley Stormwater Master Plan.
Okay, on this one here, I have Greg Poole. Hopefully he's on. Hey Greg, are you there? So we'll have the presentation by Greg Poole. He, Greg has been awesome to work with Hanson, Allen, and Luce. They've gone through in coordination with kind of all of our efforts, as well as SITLA, to help develop this. Just as a reminder, this was a CIB funded. We approached the CIB to help fund this plan, and part of it was to try to get ahead of development as we knew development was coming. You kind of seen in today's presentation with the overlay where the developer has placed in detention basins in his property in the development, and that's kind of all reflective of this stormwater drainage master plan. And so if I can, let me share this with you, Greg. Okay, Greg, you are a co-host on here, and you should be able to share your screen with us.
Can't believe you got money
Okay,
out of the
awesome.
CIB for this.
Thank you. If I might, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I really have appreciated working with the county staff who've been very helpful in moving things forward and understanding how things fit together. This is a rather unique area in the Spanish Valley because of soils and other things, and there are opportunities for impacts to neighbors and other things if the drainage is not done correctly. So we very much appreciate the county's foresight in moving ahead with this. We have 3 key objectives that we worked through in the study. And one is to protect developments from flooding and to mitigate development impacts on stormwater quality and quantity, and to plan facilities with maintenance in mind. Those are the 3 key objectives, if you will. And I would like to share my screen, if that's okay. And let's see. I'm working on it here. Let's see if I can get to the right thing to share. Here we go. A key is that the soils can you hear me and see this okay?
Yep, we can see it. We're looking at your soils by hydrological group.
Okay, perfect. This area, of course, has been impacted by Pack Creek, and a lot of this is alluvial fan area, which the county is moving ahead to address with some debris basins, and we'll be talking a little bit more about this flood control basin that's proposed as well. But the key thing I wanted to show you is that the A soils are very, very permeable soils, gravelly, sandy soils. And you can see most of this area up to the county line is that type A soil. That's not very typical for Utah. So this valley floor has very permeable soils, meaning that it infiltrates very easily. And as a result of that, the runoff in a normal storm event is very low. Even up to a 10-year storm, the 10-year storm has a 10% chance of being equaled or exceeded in any given year. And even up to that event, there's very little runoff that comes off of this area. And indeed, in a major storm, there's little runoff. Now, that's not true of the sides. You can see these are type D soils on each side, and a lot of the tributary area up above is a type D soil. And type D soil is a very, very impermeable in some ways and has very high potential for runoff. So we have this interesting phenomenon where we have lots of runoff potential tributary to a valley floor that's very permeable. And in storm events that just impact the floor, we won't get much runoff. So that was one of the key things that we as a committee defined as we went into this. If I could, this is Pack Creek as it stood before the debris basins are going to go in, and shows the extent of flooding there. That wasn't, let's see, let's go to this one. So this is the storm drainage master plan that came out of the workshops as the preferred option. It's called the local detention alternative. It means that each development is responsible for making sure that they do not impact downstream. And to do that, two basic criteria. One is all new developments to implement low impact development to control runoff up to a 10-year storm event, and new developments to detain on site the 100-year release to 0.1 CFS per acre. This is more stringent than in a lot of places in Utah, but it is consistent with the drainage characteristics of the valley floor. Let's see. So then let's just go through there's two basic parts to this master plan. And one is this flood control basin on Pack Creek. It's meant to reduce the peak flows. Our 100-year predicted flow rates are 5,000 CFS in Pack Creek. And we've had flows during a couple of years ago that reached up to like 1,500, and there was some damage from it, but not a lot. And most of the damage was from the crossings across roads and those kinds of things. So this flood control basin is to reduce that peak, that 5,000 CFS down to about 1,500. And then there are also the plan also calls for some improvements in channel improvements downstream. Now that this flood control basin works with the debris basins that are currently being planned upstream from here on Pack Creek. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. And then this master plan includes projected regional facilities. This is the Sitla property right here. as part of that community structure plan area. Balanced rock is in this area, and then that other subdivision is just below it in here. And this accommodates would accommodate the drainage that comes from them. The flow rates are based upon detaining on site to that 0.1 CFS per acre in a 100-year event. We have 3 new outfalls, or 4 outfalls to Pack Creek, 5 actually, if you go clear up here to Pack Creek from this area. Ken's Lake, a new area here, and then the old airport road. Well, actually it's not airport road, but just north of that. And then we have north of that, this area has had flooding issues and was identified by county staff. And there are various options that were discussed and worked through. The best one would be to develop a new outfall that gets to Pack Creek there. And that's the one that was selected for the master plan. And then another one up on the north end. We also have some flooding that's occurred on the Mount Peel road here, that kind of thing. Okay, let's see. That's the real short summary of the master plan document. Are there any particular questions?
I guess I have a couple of questions. There is an irrigation company that has an irrigation ditch down through the valley there. Is that right? Have you taken that irrigation company's ditch into consideration? Because I know this spring it overflowed.
Yes, it is, and they have not a very good turnout from Pack Creek, and they've lost it at least once or twice during this flooding event. I understand during the snow melt event this year, and they have had some overflows from it. As developments happen, and it's actually been one of the things we've discussed with Sittler representatives and their engineers, how they're going to direct it, because it mostly goes up through, I could share my screen again. It does not show up on this map very well, but it does. It comes in about right here and then comes up through this. So this, and it is being addressed as part of the Sittler development, that part of it. Does that help with your question?
That's helpful.
It wasn't specifically. Yeah.
Does the plan show is there any part of the plan that addresses helping the irrigation company keep their water in their ditch? I don't know.
Oh, no, that would be a good. As Sittler develops, that'll obviously happen because as that land develops, because they'll have to keep that in mind. But we did not address that specifically in the master plan.
That's fine.
It had not flooded before we finished the report, so we didn't specifically address that. But that always is a concern because irrigation ditches follow along the high ground, and drainage and things as they come to them can overtop and then be diverted to some other places. So that's something to be very aware of as development happens.
Well, I just know that irrigation ditches have more priority than man himself.
Yes, that's true.
Well, anybody got any questions? Jamie or Sylvia?
I don't.
This is something that we've needed to do for quite a period of time, and we didn't know which was coming first, the cart or the horse. But at least we're doing it. We appreciate the work. Anything else?
If I might, its best benefit will be to serve as a reference for county staff as developments come in, such as the Balanced Rock, such as others that will come in the area, such as the Sitla property. That helps to prepare them for, to make sure that we don't impact neighbors and those kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you're showing right there, Mac, is a close-up of the proposed flood control basin.
Correct, and that's what I was just going to touch on. This is those things that we've been working on with the HMPG grant as well as the PIFR. So both of those projects, we're hoping to utilize the information from this report to kind of help steer and guide that. But one of the things overall with this, and it's awesome information, especially when you're looking at floodplain. This is one of those steps when you look at having FEMA participate in that floodplain mapping. This is kind of that impetus that begins that process. FEMA, we had mentioned, we're just in reaching out to them, they're probably 2 years behind until they actually get to this area. But for our mapping, this kind of starts that. And so they've done a lot of the legwork in combining all of the floodplain and kind of that the resources that are along this whole valley floor. And then that's one of the things we're super appreciative with our consultant here is there's a combination of multiple studies that go into this. I would like to point out and thank our staff. We did have the surveyor's office heavily ingrained with us on this plan, as well as Scott Burton. TJ had a hand in kind of helping guide this, especially where him and his staff see the flooding that's taking place right now in the residential areas. And so they're, TJ and his staff were really instrumental in helping guide us, as well as Tammy, on this future direction of how do we implement measures now to where we can hopefully stop or at least slow some of the energy from these flash floods that come through here with several of these ideas. Like I said, you've seen in the presentation today where developers are now, where they know of this, they know of the study, they know of the hydrology in this area, where they're able to implement some of those measures on their own property so that we're not pushing water onto adjacent properties. We're not flooding out adjacent properties. And so this is something that's definitely needed. We'll see this. One of the hopes is that we'll be able to incorporate this in our overall land use ordinance for this area as an appendix once we get to that point. Today we're just approving it as a master plan, and later on we will marry the two with a public hearing and the proper opening of that ordinance.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to approve the stormwater master plan as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sylvia.
I'll second.
Second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks
Sure
for your
appreciate it.
work.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is consideration and approval of a resolution updating the San Juan County Library System Board of Directors bylaws. Wow. Is that one sentence? Okay. Go ahead, Nicole.
This should be really quick. We just needed, over the last few years, noticed the need the board did, to just make a few minor changes. This before you was approved mostly by the library board. Matt found some changes also afterwards that needed to be made that he caught with wording such as board of director instead of board of trustees, and calling the trustees directors instead. There's been a lot of confusion with the state library when they send me material for the board of directors. They call it a board of trustees, and so, but when you go to the actual state law code, it gives wording of it. They should be called directors, board of directors, and so on and so forth. There was another minor change was to have at least, we have 9, that up to 9, but a requirement between 5 and 9 board members. And the change was made so that we have 1 from Monticello, 1 from Blanding, and 1 representative from the Board of County Commissioners, which is the county executive for all intents and purposes. That is Matt representing the county commissioners. And then the rest are to be at large throughout, the county. And the reason for this was we were finding it really difficult at times to find people to represent the southern part or the northern part. And so we would have vacancies sitting there, and sometimes we were really close to being in danger of not fulfilling the minimum of 5. And so that change was made, although I have to point out that we do have currently just 1 from Blanding, 1 from Monticello, 1 from Bluff, so that's representing our southern, 1 from Montezuma Creek, again from the southern, and 1 from Spanish Valley area, and 3 from the LaSalle. So right now we're kind of the other way around, and this doesn't seem to have affected there being too many concentrated in like the larger areas where we're getting actually more representation from the outside areas. I just felt like, and the board felt like, if we open it up to those who are interested, then they'll come, and they have come. And I think other than that, those are basically the changes that were made. Hopefully you've had a chance if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions?
No questions. Motion.
Okay, we motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second. This is a really wise commission because we don't mess with the library people.
That's good.
All in favor say aye. Yeah, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. The 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you.
There's some good
Tell them we support the library. Number 29. Elaine, do you have a good idea here? Okay.
We have had a request from 2 gentlemen that are here, Alex Gomez and Carlos Martinez, who are the business owners of Blue Mountain Community Market. And they are wanting to host events twice a month in Monticello, and then they'll be doing twice a month in Blanding. And they're working with Talia Hansen, who is guiding them along this process. But they'd like to take and rent the empty lot, a county lot across the street, from say April through October, because obviously it's weather dependent, and to host during those Sundays sort of a market and food and artisans, and focusing on bringing Hispanic and Native American artisans to the community. And I'm thrilled because it'll give us some activity to happen on the weekend in Blanding on Saturday and Monticello on Sunday. So they are asking to rent the lot because it would operate from 10 to 5 2 Sundays a month here, and they're also looking at other business, another section of business to open here in Monticello. So I'm really thrilled, especially because they're from our sister county. They're from Grand County, and they're looking towards San Juan County as another opportunity. So
I just need to make you aware of one thing. That used to be the city's horseshoe pits. So there may be some horseshoes under the ground there a little bit. So just be aware. I don't think there's any big poles up there to hit the horseshoes, but there was some horseshoes there at one time.
So Talia does a lot of, she's working with a lot of businesses in San Juan County for economic development and helping to nurture. And we work with her. She's helping us to process grants. So you might want to add a little bit more to what I've said about what they are proposing. You guys wanna come up too?
So we actually have been working a lot. I own a company, Latigic, and I work with any minority businesses to help them build them up. And I actually taught Spanish classes. I just moved down here about 7 months ago. I taught Spanish classes in Moab, and these guys are my incredible students. Who they are super excited because what we're creating is an opportunity for not only businesses to happen here, but a location for them to happen in. And that's been one of the most difficult things. Moab, there are a lot of the Latino community in Moab and here in Monticello. And that is one of the things is we're priced out in Moab. And I kept telling them, come to San Juan County. We have opportunity here. We want what you have. And so I'm going to let them tell you about a few of the businesses that they want to put in there. But we will be continuing to teach classes, business classes in Spanish and English. And I'm also teaching on the reservation. And so we have about 4 businesses on the reservation that we're doing, and I've actually helped with several tourists in Monument Valley and getting them online and with websites. Do you want to tell them a little bit?
So first, thank you for the time. We have one program for the flea market. We propose is incentive of the community to more business, food business, art.
Anything that the market has, any local produce they have, like farmers.
Exactly.
Anything that is moving the town pretty much. We try to implement it in this local, whether it's the building.
So we are working together with Elaine, and we rent the building, the 65 South Main Street. We pretend use together with this space for work with more people and try to make this Sunday some special for the community, in town, something different. But we try to make with the process, the correct process.
I think the goal is that they're trying to take local and utilize and feature local artisans and no matter who they are and where they're from within San Juan County. So I think it's a chance for us to start something new and different here in Monticello and in Blanding, because Blandings will be Saturdays.
Yes.
So we're in Blanding.
So my hope is I'm starting to work with the city, but the park with the yellow slide, I looked it up and I keep forgetting the name. But it's right off of Main Street so that people are able to do that.
It's just the small triangle park.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a city park.
One of the other reasons that we thought of doing this is because there's a lot of people from Montezuma Creek that come down already.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys know the Latino community, but we love to have a place to party and buy food and enjoy each other's company. And so that was something that we thought we could help the community that already is trying to earn income. And then our hope is as we have new vendors, to identify businesses that we can help coach and grow because they are anxious to do that. You just don't know how to do it. So that was an initial. But in the building itself, we'll have like barbershop, food, another restaurant, and our hope is to really be able to help start showcasing this area in a way with also resources that we don't have, which I didn't realize until I moved. And so now I'm very motivated to help. So thank you.
Well, nothing's changed here for 45 years. So this is going to be mind-blowing in Monticello, probably.
Fiesta time.
Yes.
Yeah, there
This
you
is
go.
a good news for
Fiesta
change,
time,
yeah.
fiesta time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We are really happy because, I mean,
What's the term of the lease?
Well, they would lease it from April when the weather, April through October is what we're looking at, 2 Sundays a month.
Every
through-
month, yeah.
Every month.
second and fourth Sunday of the month.
Yeah, second and fourth, and then they'll take care of making sure that the grass is mowed and all of that, and then people who are going to set up will bring their own generators. They were talking about securing like porta johns or whatever over there, and that would be put near another location that they have. So it'll. I told them not to get discouraged. It's a work in progress. It's new to the community. So, but I think it's really going to be something good and different for San Juan County to embark on this.
Do you need any local singers?
Oh,
That's actually
He's
that's
good, I
actually
heard
on the
him.
list. So
I
I'm
heard
that's on the list. So we're creating rental company, and then we're working
I
to
can
create
vouch for
music.
Yeah, we were in the same party while he was singing. Do you know what? I just want to make a comment. When I used to live in Salt Lake, it was one of the first year they started the art festival there, and I took my little children. We went. There were a few things, but now the art festival is amazing. I mean, they have
Well, we're hoping
thousands
that-
of people that can come.
That's what we've been brainstorming, because we're hoping that eventually we can have a San Juan, like an art and culture day that we can start.
Have
having
all the
sell it
multicultures
one
kind
day,
of thing.
Landing the next day, and then end up in Bluff at their art festival in, I think, October. So this would become an annual event, because we've got so many talented people, artisans in San Juan County, that, jewelry, pottery, I mean, rugs, baskets, you name it. So
Quilts,
I think to give
yeah.
these individuals a chance to showcase their, their talents.
Together we can work
Yeah,
better.
yeah. So they're partnering together, and Talia's helping them. So that's the request.
Now the lot is one just across the
Yes.
street here, right? Yeah, I thought maybe I'd misrepresented the horseshoe pits.
Don't want anybody digging for the lucky horseshoes.
We'll turn it into art, don't worry.
There you go.
We reuse and recycle everything we can also.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our idea, because, we have a lot of resources too that we can use for the local people. We
How
see
deep
this
is that
idea,
lot,
so,
Matt?
well, you see
Is that
now
really?
compost and.
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to figure that one out. Where is it though?
Yeah.
We go back.
Elaine, do you know how deep that lot goes?
We go back quite a ways right there.
It's pretty large. I mean,
Is
I
it?
think it spans. I think it
Does it go that
spans.
back to the property line?
There's
There's
a
a
Yeah.
dollar
property
store?
line
Yeah,
right here
for the
that
Family
comes
Dollar, I
across.
believe it butts up against
Okay.
the Family Dollar.
Okay.
So I got a question. Did you have business in Moab?
It does.
Not really. We work at the restaurants.
Okay.
We have a new company registered, but it's brand new actually.
Okay.
But
That's good.
His dad actually owns one of the trucks that are there. So they are established there. In fact, it was funny because when we started this project, we invited his parents and they were like, no way, we don't want to go down there. And then they came and saw it and they're like, this is great. We have opportunity here. So I'm hoping we continue with that.
Well,
Yes, they have a
okay.
his parents have a wonderful food truck.
Well, I
that's
just
gotten
wanted to know
very
where
high
to
rated
stop in Moab, so that's the reason I was
Yeah,
asking.
we have a drug in Moab, but they pretend move to Monticello, but a full restaurant. So this is one of
Yeah,
the
so-
projects.
Well, that's
we're
good.
building.
Yeah, this is
I
just
like-
opening the door to all the
I
opportunities. that are gonna come.
I'm a believer of opportunity. I ran an opportunity for commissioner. Yeah.
You probably will, Elaine, need to run this by the county attorney as far as any kind of a legal lease.
I guess we'll
To
have
Jen's.
to. Yeah.
Jens is already working on it. Okay. Okay, you just need approval then today?
Yeah.
Well, you got three pretty reluctant commissioners to make any decisions today, so. We have a motion to approve, let's see, the Blue Mountain Community Market lease.
I'll motion to
Okay,
approve.
motion by Sylvia,
I'll second with a comment.
second with a comment.
So finally, we get to have some real salsa, huh? Right. Just getting tired of the fake salsa. So, but excelente. Finally, good Cinco de Mayo and dead
September.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to combine like we said earlier, we're trying to combine every culture, so we're trying to keep doing events combined also too, not just us.
I guess I could ask too if you're gonna have chimichurri. Do you know what chimichurri is?
Oh.
Yes, I do.
That comes from my country, so.
Sylvia, you can totally become a vendor.
What?
We have a form. You can become a vendor.
Yeah, I can come and, well, I can.
Well, I'm going to say this in a friendly way. Anytime we have a Latino wedding or a celebration with Latino community, the size of the town doubles.
Yeah, there you go.
The size of the town doubles. She said, they like to party. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Sylvia and Jamie, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you for your time, and I'm really happy that you could meet the
Yeah.
Buena
commissioners.
suerte.
Thanks.
You've already met Mac McDonald.
Well, thanks for coming.
I'll come and visit you guys in Blanding.
We're sorry you had to sit through the whole meeting.
Okay, they learned.
Every
All right.
Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 30, TJ approval of off-road, off-highway vehicle recreation grant. Is this the $200,000 one?
Yes. So I wrote a grant to help us to maintain some of our trails.
Can we get a little car that commissioners can go down the road?
That's the next item.
Okay.
It's in here.
So we had a lot of washouts down south. A lot of rocks, a lot of issues that we don't have the equipment to get in and fix. So we've had some trails that have been down for a year. So I wrote this grant to ask for, most of it is for equipment. And they have approved the grant. And so this first part is for you guys to approve that I can accept the grant money.
Is this UTV, Utah
Yes.
grant? Brett Stewart.
Well, it's Brett Stewart is on that board, and he wrote a letter of recommendation for this project. It was a hearing up in
County.
Yeah, it was a hearing up in Vernal.
He sticks up for us. I want you to know that.
Yeah, during that Yellow Cake Caucus, he was the one that said, "Hey, make sure you get this grant in. We got the funds there. We need to get it. TJ needs to apply." So he definitely watches out
getting
for
up at
us.
6 o'clock in the morning and go to the little caucus then.
This is one of those.
So do we have a motion to approve the acceptance of this recreation grant?
Motion.
Motion by Jamie.
I'll approve.
Second by
A
Sylvia.
second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also, that's 3 in favor and 0 opposed. Okay, now spend the money.
Okay, so this one, of the $199,000 that I was awarded, or the county was awarded, $45,000 of it is in an in-kind match for labor. So if you minus $45,000 off of this, it leaves $154,000. That's for equipment. It's for a skid steer, track skid steer to help us in the sand, different attachments, trailer to haul it, a rock breaker that goes on the attachment, a hammer drill, whole bunch of cool little things to help us when we're down there, that if we have a rock that's in the way, we can break it
You
out.
don't have to move the rock, you just.
We can break it out and then fill our holes. And so this has a whole bunch of attachments, and there is a UTV in the package, so you can take a tour and go ride down on the
Make sure
trails.
it work.
And so that's what this part is that to get the approval. So, cause a lot of this stuff, it was a year grant, but with the whole backlog of COVID still, we're 6, 8, 10 months out on equipment. And so there was no way we were going to be able to do it this year. So I actually put in to give us 3 years to do this. And so this, as soon as we can get this, we can get our stuff ordered, because until it comes in, we can't go work on the stuff. And so that's why they're kind of in conjunction, is we know what we need in it. And so then we can start ordering our equipment.
So the in-kind comes from the county and it's your labor and things like that?
Yeah. So what we normally spend is about $15,000 a year on trail maintenance. That's kind of what our budget is. Not very big. So I did 3 years of our normal trail budget as an in-kind match. And then they gave us the same amount, so that if we can get a seasonal or somebody to help us work, we can do twice as much work in the same amount of time. And then we used our Trailcat that we have in our truck and trailer that fit it as an in-kind match. And so it all kind of went together as this grant. I think we're matching, I'd have to look through it, but somewhere in the 20-something% of the whole project. But we're dollar for labor, we're dollar for dollar. But it was already money that we budget to spend. And so it actually is a very beneficial grant to do, because it doesn't cost us any money different than we were already going to spend.
So, I talked about grants before, and this is the kind of grants I like when we have leftovers. Sometimes we get grant that we just spend it and it's gone and there's no equipment left. But this is something that's nice, because you end up with something that will benefit us for a long time.
Yep. It's a 3-year project, but then we'll have it and we can keep fixing anything else. So for 3 years, it's kind of tied to 100 miles of trail. But after that, once the project is over, then it's ours to use and fix other stuff. So even though it was a pain to do, it was worth it.
Yeah, then I used to those grants.
And the grant part was hard, but the tracking, there's a lot of stuff that they require, because it's money that you're getting, so you have to track every little thing that you do, and so
reporting and keeping track of all
Yep.
the stuff.
So that gets kind of fun.
Do we have a motion to approve the purchase of this equipment to maintain the trails?
I'll motion.
Motion by Jamie.
Second.
Second by Sylvia. Further discussion? See none. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Thanks, TJ.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to take number 32?
Yeah, so this one here is a resolution supporting Congressman Curtis's Congressional House Bill HR 3397 to require the Director of Bureau of Land Management to withdraw a rule of the Bureau of Land Management relating to conservation and landscape health. We were looking for opportunities. There are different ways that we can say no to the 30 by 30 is kind of what everybody's calling this effort, this rule that the Director of Bureau of Land Management is just placed in kind of their rules of things that they would follow. So I was listening to, we looked at possibility of a joint resolution with other counties in the state, as well as surrounding counties in other states. And that was kind of simple. It was similar to the letter that we had already sent opposing this. But then during that, so last week there was a hearing regarding this rule that Congressman Curtis spoke to. And I really liked his comments in here and it was during the House Committee of Natural Resources. Congressman Curtis had mentioned, and I'll just kind of read through here on this final whereas here, but during that testimony, he states that, for decades and decades and decades, the good people of Utah have managed these lands in a responsible way. Far better, Mr. Ranking Member. And since the Bears Ears Monument designation, nothing good has come out of that designation for the land in Utah, for the local tribes, and for the people who participate in this land. And now we have bureaucrats from the East Coast who have never been to my district, who have hardly been to the West other than fly over it on their way to California, tell us how they know better than we do how to manage these lands. He states on here, I'd like to go on the record with saying that in the West, we know far better how to manage these lands and have done better for decades and decades, better than any bureaucrat from the East Coast could ever imagine or ever dream of managing these lands. On here, the next whereas we concur with Congressman Curtis in acknowledging that it has been our local farmers, ranchers, and citizens who have managed these lands, mitigating fire disasters, sustaining a living, providing food for our citizens here in San Juan County through the proper management of these lands, and that we continue to be opposed of that conservation language that is being, touted or being thought of adding to kind of the rules and regulations for the Bureau of Land Management. And so I think this kind of takes it a little higher step. Congressman Curtis received some media for his comments as well, along whether it's for or against. But I thought it was pretty interesting when you have one of our representatives, Congressman Curtis, who's super familiar with this area. He was instrumental in a lot of our efforts, with the Navajo Nation and just in general with the state of Utah. And he kind of points it out that the locals know and have managed these lands far greater than somebody from the East Coast who now wants to conserve or could possibly have that potential to conserve all of this area, where this is, cultural significance to this area, whether it's Bears Ears or outlining, BLM areas. It's important, for our communities and for our public. So this resolution is kind of that acknowledgement that we appreciate his efforts. We appreciate him telling them, no, this isn't good. As we kind of hear, and this is kind of starting to be a common trend in this current administration, instead of going to Congress to impose these rules, they're making rules outside of going to Congress. And so there's kind of a loophole in the law which allows these directors to implement rules that have a far lasting impact on communities throughout the U.S. rather than going and having those done through Congress and through our representatives. And so correct. And the public, they don't get a way in on these rules. And so that's what we're asking now is, let's get out of these rules. Let's go back, have public process. Let us consider, these and consider our comments, as where you're elected leaders, they should consider your comments as a cooperating agency and a coordinating agency. And so all of this is kind of a culmination of, the potential for disaster and disastrous measures with this type of a rulemaking is pretty severe for our county.
Especially when resources are not part of the ruling. We're told
Correct.
to do this and that, and it just dilute our resources that we don't have.
Yeah.
And one thing about Congressman John Curtis is not somebody that just happened to have come to San Juan County once. He had come many, many times. It was anybody that has a background on what he's talking about. He has been in the area, and it's nice to hear that. And it was nice also to hear from the governor from South Dakota talking about
Yeah.
the damage that this resolution would do to farmers and different situations. So yeah, this is a really nice thing.
My concern with this whole rule is taking BLM land, which is a major part of the land in San Juan County and all over the West, taking some of those grazing permits and converting them to conservation permits.
Yeah.
And what it does, it makes it harder for the people in the agriculture business to remain in agriculture business because they have no place to go out and buy land on which to run these cattle, and because the BLM simply owns most of the land. So if you start reducing the amount of land available to cattle people or sheep people or whatever, and setting it aside for conservation, there's going to be nothing done on that land but just keep it out of the hands of agriculture. And so many people and families depend on it here in our county and throughout all the counties in the state. I really applaud the congressman for making this significant move to ask the BLM to withdraw this new rule. So I'm in support 100%. So do we have a motion to approve the resolution supporting Congressman Curtis today?
Yes, I like to motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion by Jamie.
And I'll second.
Second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, we'll allow a little time, if you keep it really short, to give commission reports before we go into executive session. Anybody want to report something? You know that this next week we're going to Ogden for the criminal justice coordinating meeting.
So what day is that?
28th and 29th.
Okay, yeah, we did visit with Mac about that. Okay.
So it's the evening of the 28th and the morning of the 29th.
The
Mac's got us reservations at Hilton Garden Inn, or where is it?
There at Layton, right next door to the conference center.
One of the things that I would like to report is when we had an email that came to us regarding nominating the San Juan County Commissioner, San Juan County Cowboy for the year for the rodeo in Ogden. And so after, I wasn't sure if some people had nominated anybody. I contacted, they said there was, it wasn't a nomination, so I just took the initiative and went through the list of the people that have received nomination, and I had somebody that had in mind and searched his history and nominated Merlin Grover. And last week I was notified that he got the nomination, and it's going to be around the 24th. The rodeo is around the 24th of July. And
in Ogden.
In Ogden. Anyway, so they contacted.
He doesn't have to ride a horse from here up there, does he?
Do I have to if I
No,
go?
does Merlin have to ride a horse?
I don't know, but
That's a lot.
when they asked me for
The saddle sore there.
when they called me to be in the rodeo, they say it's tradition for the commissioner riding the rodeo. I thought, okay, I had done lots of scary things since I had this thing, and I guess riding a horse would be the latest one. So and they asked, can you come? I said, sure. I said, okay, we'll find a truck.
Not a horse.
So got to ride the truck. So I thought that was I'm planning to go support him. I think that it's nice for us to recognize the hardworking individuals we have in our community, and I thought that was something nice and well-deserving. And I was with Brittany's little boy. He was telling me he was gonna ride the Jeep a Jeep. And I said, I'm going to ride a truck. But it wasn't a Jeep, it was the sheep. He rode the sheep. And after
Mustang,
thinking,
huh?
he wasn't talking about a Jeep. Anyway, so cute. Anyway, so that's something to
Good.
report.
Jamie, do you have anything you want to report?
Yeah, I have three things I just want to touch up on real quickly for the commissioners. Mac and I actually had the opportunity to provide a report to the Navajo-Utah Commission this past Friday. Mac will probably talk more about his presentation to the commission members, but it was my first time providing a report to the Navajo-Utah Commission. The commission is composed of elected chapter officers within the 7 Utah chapters, and they seem to be wanting to continue building partnership with the county and to move forward with any of the barriers that may exist in some of their projects that they want to see come to fruition. In my report, I provided some information about the electric vehicles that I think UWAC was talking about. I know that opportunity closed up just this past month,
Yeah.
but I know it'll reopen again next year. And it seems that some of the Utah chapters are receptive to being considered as refueling stations in their next cycle of locations they're looking for. I think the chapters would benefit from working with the private partner to do revenue sharing for recharging stations for electric vehicles that are on the reservation. The second thing is the commission passed a resolution on just banning sales of alcohol on the reservation. I think just in the best interest of the folks, the tribal members that are on the reservation, there's already enough challenges that are there, especially with social services and mental health, and they're wanting to just continue to assert, at this time, we still need resources for mental health counseling, access to quality mental health treatment, and that's important. And we want to continue to build healthy communities. And so that's the resolution that'll probably come to this commission. And they're grateful for the position that we've taken, and I know they're grateful for that denial on a license for Montezuma Creek Dollar Store. The third item that I covered was a child prevention grant that opened up out of Department of Health and Human Services. Navajo Nation has decided to pursue a grant out of the state of Utah Department of Health and Human Services child prevention. Navajo Nation is looking at using the grant to establish 2 child protective services workers within the Utah Strip. They would like to get 2 CPS workers into the community. I imagine the next step would be finding offices and housing so that they're accessible. And in my mind, I still feel that since our attorney's here, Brittany, we still need to work on establishing a memorandum or a mutual assist agreement, possibly with our county sheriff's department and Navajo Nation Public Safety. I think we can replicate what the State Highway Patrol has with Navajo Nation Public Safety, and really that agreement is just based on coordinating and working during a response. Now that we have 2 shelters that UNHS will be assuming, one of course is the Gentle Iron Hawk shelter in Blanding. UNHS has recently assumed the shelter, domestic violence shelter out in Shiprock. And so now they're going to be operating 2 shelters, more capacity. And of course, what that would mean is victims that would need assistance being safely transported to the shelters, protecting families so that they get to the shelters safely, and then helping with the nation in responding to domestic violence incidences that may occur on the reservation, on or off, and figuring out solutions to how that can be safely done. And finally, Red Mesa had passed a resolution about adding a road to the state. That's the route from Montezuma Creek going to Red Mesa chapter down into Arizona. And so I know they're grateful for the recognition of that resolution. The commission passed a new resolution in support of the state funds, which I imagine is coming to repair the road between Montezuma Creek out going into Aneth. I think that's
Roundabout.
262 with the roundabout, and they would love to have that come into play. And any support through this commission would be valuable to the Aneth chapter. One thing I forgot to include in my report to the commission was our efforts to get the street lights relighted in Montezuma Creek. And so most likely as I make my rounds out in the chapter meetings, I'll be able to share that positive information as well. So that's my report, commissioners. Appreciate your support and all you do, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Let's see. Trying to remember. I can't remember anything because we had a family reunion over the weekend at Bryce Canyon. That's all I can think about.
That would be hard. It's a hard transition.
So, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 I also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and Brittany will discuss with us why.
Do you want to take a quick 5 minutes and we can get everything logged off and